Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Comic Book Radio. I am your host, Publishing Pizza Medi. That's right, special presentation tonight. It's usually Open Mic Monday. Don't be scared, it is still Monday. We're doing something a little bit different tonight. We're giving Timey the night off. He's doing whatever it is he's doing. It's his own time. I don't ask him what he does on his own time. I think that would be a bit invasive of me as an employer and as a friend. So he's got the night off, and instead we're doing Comic Book Radio tonight. Comic Book Radio, though, is very similar to Open Mic Monday. A bunch of you guys have already seen a couple episodes. Some of you have been on it, too. It's an open mic format, but there's no agenda to it. There's no real rhyme or reason. It's just conversations. It's you promoting whatever you want to promote, or talk about what you want to talk about. Keep it relatively clean. Ask a question, complain about something, vent about something. Whatever it is that you would like to talk about, this is the show to do it. So before we start, I just want to say hello to you guys in the chat. And again, Timey Tim has the night off. And of course, I hate saying a happy Memorial Day to you guys, but I hope you guys did have an enjoyable Memorial Day. And once again, like we always say every Memorial Day, but also I think every day we think of the troops. We think of those who especially have given the ultimate sacrifice to keep us the way that we are. Thank you. We miss you. I know I miss them. I know you guys probably miss who you've lost to. All right, Eric Housel, what's up? Hope you're doing good. Unqualified Comics, Shane O'Sullivan, how's it going? The Beam Pad is here as well. The Blast Beat Industries 2, Vault Cobalt, Statistical Zero. Hey, K Manifesto, what's up? Bridger 2022, how's it going? Jaded One Art, hope you're doing well. And we also have, let's see, Eddie Winkler in the house as well. And Replicator with a, oh yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. How's it going, Rob? Samuel Webb also in the chat says, you don't want to know what he has been doing with the alarm clock. What I've been doing with the alarm clock? No. If you're suggesting what Timey Tim has been doing with the alarm clock, listen. All right. I respect his privacy. Yes, indeed, Eric Housley. Yes, indeed. All right. AJ Lee, what's up? Full custom hot dog as well. Paul Riley, too. Chad Townsend and Silvar Ogre, along with Rex Doom and GJ Martinez. How's it going, guys? Okay. So, again, Open Mic Monday. I'm going to flash the banner here for you guys so you can see at the bottom. Again, feel free to vent, complain, ask a question, comment, promote, join the show, and call in. The invite link is pinned to the top of the chat. Wherever it is on your screen, it's at the top. Just like the cream, which rises to the top. All right. Without further ado, let's get to some of our guests here. We do have a bunch waiting in the green room. And like I said, usually there's no time limit on these shows. But the fact is that if we do have a bunch of guests piling on, we got to keep the show moving along. All right. First guest of the night is Vault Cobalt. What's up, Vault?
Hey, what's up? I'm surprised I'm first.
Yes, you are first. What have you got for us tonight? What's on your mind?
Well, just wanted to promote Havoc a little bit, first of all, because we got funded. So now we're working on the stretch goals.
Congrats. Awesome, man. Congratulations. Let's see what we got here.
Yeah, we got funded a few days ago. We got 6 days left. And speaking of stretch goals, let me just get to them. If we reach 3K, everybody gets these 4 great stickers by 6 a.m. Comics.
All right. Very nice.
Yeah, we got a pair for each book. So you might want to get both books.
Yeah. So anything you would like to give any kind of new update other than the fact that you got funded, any kind of stretch goals, any kind of anything going on other than of course this stuff, but anything that you're close to unlocking, anything that's new, anything like that?
Well, they're currently in the mail, but I think it's okay to let everyone know. I have two new tiers that are going to be coming as soon as I actually get them. There will be two sketch cards done by Sim, who did Nat the Merc, in case anyone's heard of that comic. He's sending two sketch cards. I also have Rini Draws, who's
Okay.
who herself got funded and closed I think last week on Fiendish. She's making two of those great wood burned plaques for me. Those are
Oh
also in
wow.
the mail.
Very nice.
As soon as I get those, they'll they'll have their own update. Everything goes on Twitter and they'll be put up. And both of those tiers are limited to just two because that's all I got.
That's great. Well, it sounds like you're getting all your ducks lined up in a row. Let's see, you're at 2,261. You got 31 backers on board, 6 days left. Is this the first 30, the second 30?
This is the first 30.
Okay. Are
And
you doing a second 30?
that's kind of up in the air. And, maybe we will, maybe we won't. There's certain considerations to be taken into.
Okay. If you don't do a second 30, are you going in demand?
Yes, we will be going in demand. That's not in the air. That's not changing.
All right. Very nice. Well, congratulations to you. You got your goal and some, and it looks like you've got time to raise some more and unlock a couple stretch goals too. Now, let's see. We got Alex VRB in the chat says, Reni's a fantastic artist. I hope she didn't overextend herself on the wood art. She sold a bunch of those.
Oh yeah, I think the last count was 60. But she finished the two she had for me. Those are in the mail, so I should be. Let's see. Yeah, today's Monday. She should have sent them out today. So in a few days, I should have them.
Boy, oh boy, man, 60 of those. Holy smokes!
Yeah, she had to take them down, but I don't blame people for getting them. They're great. I mean, the ones she did for this campaign, I even told her I'm tempted to keep them.
Yeah. What price range are you going to put them up at?
I'm gonna have to talk to Steve about that. We want to keep it affordable for the backers, but since there's just two of them, we want to make them special because they are.
All right, yeah. I mean, those things are they're very unique, and I got to think that they're relatively time consuming too.
You'd have to ask her, but she knocked them out pretty quick.
Have you ever tried burning wood?
On purpose? No.
Like trying to make pretty pictures out of burning stuff on wood?
I've done a little carpentry, but I've never done that wood burning stuff. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think the only time I ever burned anything on wood was with like a magnifying glass. You're just trying to make a little something.
Yeah.
Also, it's not my fault. My parents had to get a new house afterwards. I mean, they still blame me, but
it was that bad. You should have blamed the ants. They were tempting targets.
Yeah, I don't think they would have believed me though. I admitted to it. I was a good kid that burned his house down. It is what it is.
Yeah, just don't say it in front of the insurance guy.
Yeah. I figure the statute of limitations for accidental arson at this point is kind of past.
Is it arson if it's accidental?
I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, well, we're on a stream. Keep it locked down.
Nobody watches this show. Are you kidding me?
Big Brother's always watching.
Let's see. William C. says this is riveting. It is riveting. It absolutely is riveting. I think you're being not serious, but maybe you are serious. Past Master Dan says, I'm fire, wood or trees, or I'm fire trees. Fire Christmas tree. And then puts an eye.
He's watching you.
Yeah, he's watching. K Manifesto says the only wood I've burned was in a campfire. Yeah. Chad Townsend says I've gotten rug burn. That's not quite the same. Pyrography. Yeah, pyrography. Bean pad just burns bridges. Well, yeah, okay, I'll allow it. Samuel says it's not arson if it's by accident. Oh, see,
I tried to warn you.
Scot-free. Yeah. Thank you, Samuel. Appreciate that. Look at that. I can live the rest of my life not being worried about such things. Silvar says Log is very disappointed in Pete. Oh, well, come on. I mean, I was a kid. It is what it is. Anyway. So Havoc is currently on Indiegogo, 2,261 raised, 31 backers on board, 6 days left. If you guys have not backed this yet, please check it out and spread the word. If you're interested, back it. If you're even more interested in checking out the book itself. Before we move on to our next guest, anything you'd like to say?
Well, if you allow it, we did improve the video slightly, so.
Oh, okay, yeah. If you want to share the video, that'd be fantastic. We could do that.
All right, hopefully I didn't boomer this up.
Okay.
There is not always justice or fairness in the world, but there is always a price. Presenting Havoc, a 48-page, full-color graphic novel. The hunt begins. Death is the prey. Follow Agent Catherine Sanis, a soldier and seeker, as she searches for answers amidst enemies unknown. The taskmaster and pretender, leading her to an unexpected encounter. An oddity and enigma. Mysteries and questions build. You don't find death. Death finds you. Havoc. Only on Indiegogo.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, it's a slight improvement.
Yeah. All right. Well, before you go, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Well, I got one question for you.
Okay.
How difficult did you find it to juggle, doing the comics thing and your day job?
It was pretty tough, especially in the beginning. Yeah, it was pretty tough. I mean, you've got to pace yourself, obviously, but don't beat yourself up either about missing, deadlines sometimes, self-imposed deadlines usually too. If they're actual deadlines, then beat yourself up. But when they're just, I hope I get this many pages done or this amount of books done or whatever it may be in a certain time frame. When you're juggling other things, you got to give yourself a little bit of leeway. Don't slack off completely, but don't get in that psychological state where all of a sudden you're wasting time being upset at yourself when you could just use that time to getting work done. But yeah, it was kind of tough in the beginning, sure.
All right, good to know.
Well, is it easy for you or is it tough for you?
Oh,
I'm guessing
you're
juggling.
It's kind of murder because thing and everything popped off right after I started on this comic books journey. So I'm a quote unquote essential worker, so double the work, same pay.
Yeah. No, don't beat yourself up. It's tough. It really is. The first 6 or 7 years, something like that. I can't remember at this point specifically. It's definitely more than 5, but less than 8. So 6 or 7 years, the first of Alterna, I worked like 2 to 3 jobs sometimes, all the time. And I don't mean 2 to 3 jobs within 6 or 7 years. I mean, I worked like 2 or 3 jobs at the same time as I was doing Alterna stuff. It was only after that point where I just was like, I'll just go to do Alterna full time. But it's because it was step by step, year by year, all that kind of stuff. And there's setbacks and there was all kinds of things where I'm like, I don't know, maybe I should just stop doing this. But every single time it was, well, what else am I going to do with my life? This is what I want to do with my life. Everything else is secondary. This is building up towards something that it makes me happy, something that makes me feel like I'm not just spinning my wheels. So it was worth it. I don't think I would change it. I would change a couple of different things that I've done, a couple different strategies I took or whatever. But at the time, I thought they were the right thing to do. So I can't even go back and say I had a regret because I would have chose something else and another opportunity was before me. I think I made the best decisions I could have made at what I had presented to me, given the opportunity that was before me. But yeah, you can't, don't beat yourself up too much. Anybody else too that's watching right now, I mean, we see so many people that are like, oh, well, you're not a comics pro if you have another job or this. First of all, being a comics pro is completely overrated and is a bullshit, meaningless term. You're a person who creates comics. You're a person who's creating a story. All right. So if you're doing that, you can work another job. You can work 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. I don't care. If you're creating something, if you're taking the steps towards making your dreams come true, getting your creative projects out there, you're living it. You're doing it. You know how many people out there that just go, oh, I wish I could do that, or I wish I could have done that. That's even worse when you wish you could have done something about it. And it's too late now for some people. You're doing it. So ease up on yourself. Don't beat yourself up too much.
So just make a foundation and lay brick by brick is what you're saying, right?
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, I kind of tell myself that, but it's better coming from you.
All right. Yeah. Well, it's the truth, though. It really is. It's 100% the truth. And I wouldn't lie to you about that. I mean, look at me. I'm not someone who's going to lie to you. Don't answer that, Cobalt.
Yeah, as long as you're not wearing the belt and, saying, oh, yeah, too much, I believe you.
All right. Well, I'm having a serious conversation with you right now. So, I'm not going to joke about this. I'm not going to get into a jokey mode. 100% though. Keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing. And you're making your dreams come true, and you're putting in the work and the time, and that's all that counts, man. And at the end of the day, no matter what, whether your project raises 100,000 or 1,000, as long as you're getting it out there and you're getting it into the hands of the people who support you and back you, and you're doing right by them and you're doing right by you, keep doing it.
All right, thanks for the pep talk.
All right, man. Keep it up. And congrats again about your funding goal being reached. Everybody, Havoc on Indiegogo right now. And Volt Cobalt, thank you so much for spending some time here today.
Thank you, Pete. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Yeah, no problem. Bye. All right. I was just about to wind up Timey Tim, and I'm like, he's off for the night. I don't even know where he is. I'm so in the mode. It's Open Mic Monday night, but it's not Open Mic Monday. It's Comic Book Radio night. So, okay, let's get started. Let's go to our next guest and see what's on their mind. We've got Samuel Webb, or I should say that Samuel Webb. Don't want to confuse you with another one.
How you doing, Pete? Can you guys hear me?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I can hear you. What's on your mind?
I guess kind of half rant, half promotion. I was looking at Knight's Bane, which we just passed $1,000, if I may indulge. Let's see.
I don't know. What do you want to indulge in?
We just passed 1,210. Let's see if it's gone up in the past few minutes. Is it streaming?
Okay. I'm not seeing anything being shared on your end. No, I'm not.
Share, come on. Okay, lost permission. Just trust me that I have gotten to 1,220. I'm going to post the link in the chat simply because computer technology just makes everything worse at this point. And this kind of brings me to a bit of a thought process I've been having for a while. I'm starting to think that superheroes are ruining comic books. And that may seem weird to say because when we think about comic books, we think about superheroes. But then I think to the kind of stuff I read as a kid. I read the Bionicle books that Lego put out. I read things like Bone. I would read French science fiction books. I read Fullmetal Alchemist when I was younger. Probably shouldn't have been reading that at 12. But my point still stands that maybe this is just me, but I'm seeing all these superhero stories, and they just all seem like copycats of each other. I'm seeing a bunch of different Batman. I'm seeing a bunch of different Superman. I'm seeing a bunch of these basically Captain Marvels, not the good one from the 80s, no, the newer one that got a movie. Seems like I'm seeing all these basically a bunch of copycats of original superheroes. And the current superheroes we do have, I mean, how many times can Batman face against the Joker? How many times can Superman beat Lex Luthor? honestly, it seems like the comic book industry is on repeat, but except every time it hits a cycle, it gets a little bit worse and worse each time. Am I the only one who feels this way, that superhero stories are just at this point, it's no longer a functioning storytelling medium?
Well, I don't know necessarily if it's the fault of the superheroes themselves as much as it's the fault of the people creating the stories. But I definitely, I get what you're saying. I really do. I think a lot of people feel that way. I think in the chat, and please correct me if I'm wrong. If you disagree or agree with Samuel, let us know. But I agree to some extent. I think what it is, though, is there's a lot of things at play right now between the company direction, between the creatives, between the editorial departments, the leadership in these companies, sometimes or lack thereof. I think you're talking about a lot of different things in terms of the synergy that's going a bit all over the place. But I think that you probably are feeling some kind of superhero fatigue with a couple of things. I mean, you're mentioning movies in particular too. I'm superhero fatigued in terms of the movies. Absolutely. A couple of years now, I've been done. I'm exhausted from them because it feels like it's the same kind of story, the same kind of character. Every character at Marvel now feels like Tony Stark. Every character at DC now feels like they're trying to be Batman. It just feels like they're trying to go towards what's their most popular sort of character and their personality, and then emulate that over and over again, as opposed to championing the uniqueness of each individual character, which is where superhero comics, that's their strength. The stories all that we love, they all revolve around each character being their own person, being their own identity, their own personality, and then when they mix and seeing what the result of that is. When you get this homogenization of personality and everything else and tone, it turns into this big bland blech. And every single time you're like, seen it, heard it, whatever, done, pass, something else. And I think that's what we're heading to now because of the fact that corporatization has so very much had its stranglehold on comic book creations for quite some time. And corporations don't like risk. Being creative involves being risky. So to minimize that risk, to manage that risk, you got to boil everything down to the lowest common denominator. And the lowest common denominator on art, on creative projects, it's boring and bland and just you're not taking any chances, no risks. You don't want to be too unique because you might put some people off. But that's the thing, though, is that if you don't try to aim for greatness and be unique and be as special and as awesome and the best you can possibly be, you just turn into a big load of crap. So this is what we're looking at superhero comics. This is why I think so many people are turning towards indies right now, too, because everybody is so uniquely them, making their awesome stories, their great characters, and building, So again, I go back to the whole thing. A lot of people are kind of going, well, there's not a lot of household names among indie books. What do you expect from these people? Give them 50 or 60 years. And then they'll become household names, but they got to stick with it. And you need some time. You need to have them develop these things. I think
a lot of people expect these indies to become Marvel by next week.
Exactly. And sometimes people do that stuff to poo-poo people that are being successful with what they have right now. Don't pay any attention to that. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't try to do things that you feel like, let me look towards compare myself to a Batman or to a Spider-Man or to a whatever. Don't sit there and do that. You're going to fail. You're going to fall right on your face and you're going to be just all upset at yourself constantly because you're always comparing yourself to something that's been around for decades and something that has all kinds of support to it at this point in time that you don't have whatsoever. If anything, be satisfied with the fact that you're having some success and you can keep building towards bigger and better things. And
I think Rob said something like that when he's talking about how he's developing his art style, when he was getting frustrated that he wasn't being like the main two. And I'm glad he developed his art style the way it is because it's kind of like a demented love child between Frank Miller and Junji Ito. And I really like that art style that he's brought about. And I'm glad it's not the same as the rest.
Yeah, that's the thing is you got to find what it is and don't be the best in terms of what you're thinking, what the best is right now, comparatively speaking. Be the best of what you can do and how good you can be. Bring out what that is. And that's the thing is you have to hone in on what makes you uniquely you and keep on sticking with it. Don't look at everything else and go, oh man, but I'm not like them. I don't have what they have. Their success is more than mine, yada, yada, whatever that may be. Chances are, if you look at someone who's been doing something for 20, 30 years or whatever, and they're at a much more successful, better place than you, and you're just starting out, why would you ever compare yourself to that person? Don't compare yourself even to the person who's starting out along with you. You all have different factors together. Just keep doing what it is you do. And too many people look around and they go, I don't know, they're doing this. Oh, they're doing that. I don't know if I could do it as good. Just keep going forward.
Yeah. And one last thing before I kick off, which is going to probably institute another conversation. It seems like there are no good kids comics nowadays. The closest we get are the crappy leftovers. Then they do a one-off, like let's write "I'm Not Starfire" and give that to the younger kids, and while the adults get the main canon stuff. And I'm not saying comics should not be for adults. Some of my favorite comics are strictly meant for adults. But part of me, and particularly when I got a niece, I'm trying to find comics to bond over her with. I keep on finding myself going to the old stuff. I don't, but there are a few exceptions that I'm liking. Someone just said Mr. Crypt in the chat, but it seems like comics are trying so hard to be taken seriously that they end up doing all these dumb adult things that aren't really meant for like. Basically, what I'm trying to say is we need the return to something like Bone or the Dark Crystal comics, which are surprisingly pretty good.
Again, we're talking about the fact that the comic industry, when something works, they go and they put the pedal to the metal and they do it till everyone hates it. Think about certain characters, think about certain ways of telling stories. That's what they do all the time. They don't just go, oh, this is working. Good. We'll do more of that while we also continue to do the other things that people enjoy. And then we can integrate these things together and have a nice crossover mix, a crossover audience too in the process. Everything is okay. More mature stories are taken off. To hell with the all ages books. To hell, these comics aren't for kids anymore, and they become embarrassed of it. They don't like it. And then when everyone shifts gears and shifts focus and they go, oh, hey, all ages books, kids, they're shooting through the roof. Comics go, everything's young adult. Got to do all ages. Got to be embarrassed again now of our mature books. It's absolutely insane. The comic industry had a real nice opportunity when they had graphic novels come into play. It's a higher price point. They could tell more mature stories outside continuity. They had a really nice opportunity to continue telling those continuity type stories on the single issues, keep the canon there, keep everything going, keep them for the age levels that they were appropriate for, and tell outside the box mature stories as graphic novel stories. You don't need to shake up universes. You don't need to look at your whole history of characters and go, well, that's our weakness right now. No, that's your strength. That's what every single creator, every single publisher wishes they had. They had your history. They wish they had your characters, your rich history, right? If you want to just have everything go back to zero all the time, you could just be an indie company starting for the first time every time, and make unrecognizable characters and work your way up. They wonder, constantly, oh well, why is the comic industry always struggling? The comic industry is always struggling because they don't know what the hell they want to be.
I kind of wish we would go back to what DC did. I think this was sometime in the 80s. I don't know my history as well as they should, where they would have the mainline stuff and then they had stuff on the side. They had Camelot 3000, Watchmen, and Ronin, things that were their own stories and done in the maxi books. I actually just read Ronin for the first time about a month or two ago. I thought it was good, and it would have been lesser if it took place in the DC universe, because we need to find a way to tell stories that aren't just Batman punches clown dude. That some of these creators, I think, should start doing their own things, and I find that's why I've been more drawn to. I recently found a King Arthur story called Caliber. It takes place in the ignore that. It takes place in the Wild West.
Timey Tim, is that you?
Yeah, it's a Wild West retelling of King Arthur. I just think that's fascinating. As I've been reading that, I keep on thinking, man, why can't we get more stuff like this? Even though it's based off of an older mythos, it's not a kind of story I've seen. That they're mixing it up a bit. And just Wish Comics would do that more instead of just doing the starting to add one issue, because the momentum that they were building up, they're just basically stopping everything. That it's very frustrating.
This is an easy way too. This is how you make comic book stories absolutely unique and original, no matter what happens. Right? Leave the bullshit series event crossover stuff behind. Turn that into like a once every 2 years kind of a thing, and have it a very accessible, outside the box sort of series, in terms of not every single title needs to be involved with all of this nonsense, right? Select couple of characters, or just within the confines of one book, and that's the event. Every other issue, one and done, self-contained stories. Introduce new characters. These new characters and new personalities will get a chance to grow and interact with the existing personalities. And you will always have unique, interesting, original stories if you approach it in that mindset. If you have to have constant events and everything else, you can't introduce new characters off the fly and have creators get used to them and learn about them and everything. They're so sucked into the event that they're secondary. So you need to have this organic growth, this organic kind of story, this day in the life approach. And it's supposed to be with these types of sequential types of stories, you're supposed to have this serialization of their journey, as opposed to this thing where it feels like, it's very painfully obvious. Someone's writing it, someone's making it. These things are just, they're just fictional characters. None of it
That's
really
why I dropped
matters.
Valiant.
It just, as soon as you start, and we see some creators nowadays be like, what are you talking? These are fictional characters. Get over it. We see some creators nowadays have that kind of mindset. And all I could think is, go find another line of work. Because if you don't want people invested emotionally and into your characters, your creations, and treat them as if these are, and don't insult your audience, making them think like, oh, they're not real, right? They're not living beings, right?
You're supposed to trick the audience into thinking
you're
they're
supposed
real.
to treat it like that. Exactly. Have respect for your characters and respect for your readers too. If you don't want that to happen, again, find another line of work. This line of work is not right for you. You have to treat it as if these are real, existing flesh and blood characters, people from another universe that you're writing about. And if you can treat it like that and you can stay true to that, you will not only have success with your characters and your story, but you'll also have your readers that respect you and you respect them, and vice versa. And it's a much healthier industry. It's a much more successful industry. But the moment that we keep on, deconstructing and tearing apart and tearing down and rebooting and restarting and saying, oh, they're just fake anyway, who cares? Well, no one's going to care. So start treating them like they're real. You want sales to happen. You want people to be interested again. You want people to care again. Treat it like it matters.
It sounds like what Heavy Metal is doing. I was never that into the Heavy Metal comics, but there's that one, the white-haired character who's always in the bikini. When they put her in full armor, and the fans were asking questions, I remember they were insulting everyone else on Twitter, like, get over it, man, babies, and all this and all that. Instead of saying, hey, let's just try and go off in a different direction. You don't like it, we'll return. I specifically remember reading some of the tweets
just
that they
say,
were
hey,
them.
give it a shot. If you guys don't dig it, we'll see what we go and do from there. But
they're paying
enjoy
you.
this, and if not, hey, we tried.
But don't bite the hand that feeds you. It doesn't make much sense.
Doesn't make any sense to me. You got to respect the audience. You don't have to pander to the audience, but you have to respect the audience. And there's way too little of that going on nowadays, and it pisses me off. Anyway, Samuel, thank you so much for stopping by, man. Appreciate you, and hope you have a great night, man.
Yeah, everyone, don't forget to check out Knight's Bane on Indiegogo. I'm going to put another link in there, if you don't mind, Pete. If you like medieval fantasy, this is right up your alley.
There you go. Knight's Bane on Indiegogo, and watch for that link that Samuel's going to pop up in the chat. All right, let's see who we have next. Actually, you know what? Before we put somebody else on next, let's pause for a 30-second commercial break. See you in 30 seconds. All right, welcome back. I just want to get to this super chat here. I did not notice that until just now. Thank you so much, Old Dirty Fatty, ODF, for the $5 super chat. Says, as a consistent failure, I can tell you that waiting for your situation to be right to achieve any goals is a sure way to fail. I wouldn't necessarily call you a consistent failure then. That's a pretty insightful philosophical message. You succeeded with that. And it sounds like you're learning. And that's all any of us can ask out of life, is to be able to continue to learn day in and day out. If we're not given the opportunity to learn, man, what a scary world this will be. All right. Next up, we have Unqualified Comics. How's it going?
Hey, Pete, how are you? Can you hear me?
I'm doing good. What's on your mind tonight?
Yeah, great conversations you guys are having. I got a bit of a rant. Actually, I'm not going to rant. I guess a complaint I have. I've been reading a lot of crowdfunded comics lately, and a lot of them, what I'm noticing is they're all basically taking a very long time to tell their story. And a lot of them are also not really setting up the background and the characters very well. So you often get very confused when you're first reading into it. And I guess, it can be very frustrating, especially as a consumer, because a lot of these crowdfunded comics, they're, $10 to $25. But the bigger problem is it takes a very, very long time for them to get out. And it's understandable. They got to make it, right? They got to ship and they got to fulfill it. So by the time you get it and then you read through all 48 pages and it's, super decompressed. And then at the end of it, you're left on a cliffhanger and it's like, well, wait for 2023 for the next, comic book. I guess what I wanted to ask you is, why do you think so many of these books are taking such a decompressed route to tell their stories and are not, I don't know, maybe it's just the philosophy of the writing. They just don't want to tell complete stories.
To be perfectly honest, I think a lot of people are emulating the stuff that they see, whether it's stuff that they don't like, or maybe they do like that way of telling a story. I think, and I see this as a publisher, I see submissions come through. I see the fact that people send in stuff that to them, I could tell they're looking at modern comics and saying, this is where I have to be. Whereas I'm looking at comics that have stood the test of time and comics that are timeless. So you could read it 20 years from now, 50 years from now, and still get something out of it, still enjoy it. Universal themes, evergreen subject matter, that kind of stuff. And in terms of approach to storytelling, within the first 5 to 8 pages, this is specifically why I ask for the first 5 to 8 pages on the alternate submissions. I want to see the fact that the story gets established right away. I want to see the fact that main characters are right in there, that the plot is being set up. You're not going to dive right in, but it has to be set up. I want to see strong personalities. I want to see the fact that the pacing is right there to get the reader sucked in and automatically acclimated to the situation at hand, the conflict that's there. There has to be that setup. There has to be something, a hook within those first 5 to 8 pages. If there isn't, oh boy, is that bad. That's just nothing worse than, you read like the whole issue of something. Let's say if it's a 20-something page story, and then only the last 3 pages you feel like, oh, well, now it's picking up. Nothing worse than that. Get right into it. First 5 to 8 pages. And honestly, the sooner the better.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad enough to go to a comic book shop and pick up a 22, 24 pager that's super decompressed and you barely get any story in it. But I think for the crowdfunded comics especially, I'm really worried about this to a degree because there's so many of them that are doing this. And I don't think they realize that your customer is waiting, a year, maybe 2 years, et cetera, to get this crowdfunded comic book to come in. And then you give them, essentially half of a story, and tell them, well, wait another 2 years for the other half of the story. In the meantime, whether it's the mainstream or say the Japanese manga or the European comic books, they're pumping out books at a much faster rate, and in a much more complete state. Even for the manga, right, where they are, traditionally more decompressed because they're going out on a weekly schedule, which is kind of nuts if you think about it. But, it's a little frustrating to just keep getting these crowdfunded comic books over and over again. and they keep doing this. I mean, not to kind of bring up old school comics, but I was recently doing like a run of videos on old Marvel, right? And I got the Epic collection for Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man. I just read through Amazing Fantasy, Fit number 15, and Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, etc. And what was crazy about it was I can't believe that Stan Lee sufficiently told the entire setup and story for Spider-Man and Peter Parker, his entire situation, in like 15 pages. It was like mind-boggling. I was like, man.
That's something too. Creators out there, if you're watching right now and you're considering formatting with your story, think of a single issue as a TV show. Think of a graphic novel, a trade. Think of that as a movie. Do you want to watch a movie where ain't nothing happening to the last 15 minutes? There's movies like that out there. They suck, but they're out there. Don't do that to your readers. Don't do that to the viewers. If you're going to make a single issue, think of it as a TV show. Think of it as the kind of story where it's almost like it's not a sitcom, but almost like a sit drama, so it's a situational type of thing where you're doing this whole, okay, here's the story. We're getting right into it. Characters are here, presented, the situation's presented, the conflict's presented, boom, boom, boom. And you can have things where there's subtext, there's a underlying story arc throughout. You can totally have that. But keep in mind that every single individual unit of entertainment that you sell, whether it's the single issue or the graphic novel, keep in mind that don't waste the time of the reader. The money is always one part. Now, if the money and the value is askew, you're going to still hear it. But if the money, let's say, is $20-25 for the book, but the person got a full complete story out of that, they got their value, they put their time into it, they go, hey, this is pretty good. I'll get the next one. I'll give the next one a shot too. I'm interested. If they sit there and they read that though, and it feels like it was all a teaser for something else, chances are that they don't really return to that next one unless you blew them away with all kinds of like other, great visuals and the setup is killer. You got strong, interesting characters with groundwork being laid down, but there's not a lot of creators that do that. So if you're starting out, you're making your first book, whatever it may be, keep that in mind. When you're making a graphic novel, it's a movie. Tell the story you want to tell. Even think of stuff like Star Wars, 4, 5, and 6. You can watch 4, it's a complete story. You can watch 5, it's a complete story. They're all the more richer if you watch 4, 5, and 6, but you're not getting like a snippet. And then, it's a teaser and it feels like you didn't really get anything out of it. You're getting character development along the way. You're getting story arcs along the way. And then there's this underlying plot the whole time. So if you want to tell a bigger story, you want to do that kind of stuff, you can do it, but don't do that to the reader. That's another case of disrespecting the reader. You're disrespecting their time. Don't do that. Tell a complete story, tell an interesting story, set up your characters, put strong characterization in there with unique personalities, and that'll do half the work for you. And just think about every step of the way in your story, not so much what happens, but what's happening and how is the reader supposed to feel. So it's more about the emotional connection between the characters and what they're doing and what kind of emotion you're looking to elicit out of the reader. Because a lot of the time, too, it's these characters that they do stuff, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't contribute anything. It doesn't make the reader feel anything. The reader doesn't learn anything. Make them feel something every single page.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like, I don't know if there's any creators watching this, but I mean, if you want some good examples of 48-page comic books that tell complete stories, go pick up any of the annuals from the 1980s from Marvel, like any of the Uncanny X-Men annuals, New Mutants, Avengers, I think Marvel team-ups, all of those things. Back in those days, they were, the editorial was a lot stricter back in those days. So they had to tell a complete story, especially for an annual, right? Because typically those were sold in the summer and they were more expensive than a regular comic. So you had to justify it. So they gave you more pages, and they also, it was a complete story.
Yeah, you only got so many panels and so many pages. Don't waste a single one. Don't do this thing where it turns into, I got 50 pages to play with. If I give them 30 pages of story on the 50 pages, I think I did my job. No, give them 50 pages of story for 50 pages of story. That's it, period. No more, no less. However many pages you're putting in there, they each contribute to the story. However many panels you're putting in there, they should each contribute to this story. There's no filler, all killer. I don't understand this whole thing with, take my time with it. Get right into it. The reader will love it, and they will return time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, and I don't know if that message is making it to a lot of the crowdfunded creators yet. I think a lot of people, they kind of focus on the packaging and all the goodies that we get and everything. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you're
starting out. Yeah. So readers like yourself out there, if you're out there and you're a reader, let them know. And you don't got to be rude about it or nothing. Just let them know, hey, I thought the pacing was a little slow. Just something to think about. And also, honestly, if you give that kind of critique to a creator and they go, oh man, thanks for letting me know, that's a great creator. If you give that kind of critique to a creator about the pacing and about, actual true constructive criticism, and then they respond back with, that's my story. You don't tell me how to write my story. All right, that's cool. And then you just back away and you never back their stuff again. That's how that works. So it's wise of creators out there, especially when they're first starting, at any point in time though, but especially when they're first starting, be open to that kind of stuff. That's stuff that you would pay to get that response from people. And if you're getting that kind of constructive criticism feedback for free from your readers who are kind enough to let you know, hey, if you worked on this, I'm going to back you. I'm going to get your next one. Why would you not want to take that? Especially, again, don't be quiet about it. Don't just go, I'll never back him again. I won't say anything. I don't want to upset someone. No, let them know. Let them know, because that's how they're going to grow. That's how they're going to learn.
Yeah, no. And the other thing I think that would be really useful, and some creators already do this, but it goes back to what you were talking about with your submissions. I think for a lot of crowdfunded comics, a really good idea is just show the first 3 to 5 pages, as a preview for your book.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of a way to replicate the old comic book shop experience. Because, you go into a comic book shop and what do? You look at a book, the cover looks interesting. That's what grabs you. So what do? You open up and you kind of check out the first couple pages. And that's kind of why I think, when I go to the comic book shop, I see back issues selling like crazy, because those comic books, if you pop them open and you open the first 3 pages, they immediately suck you in. Yep. And before you know it, you're like, yeah, I'll drop, $10 for this, Punisher comic book, from Mike Barron or whatever, right? Because it's the first 3 pages just grab you and you're into it. Yeah. Whereas like if you pick up any kind of modern comic book, I mean, you could make it to page like 14 and you still don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think for crowdfunded comic books, if you as a creator can do that, if you can provide the first 5 pages, because the other thing is it also allows people to give you some suggestions before you release the book, right? Especially if you don't have the money to go hire an editor. If they're like, hey, the first 5 pages were kind of cool, but I don't know who the main character is. And I also don't know where's the setting, where's this located, what's going on, right? And it's kind of like a warning sign.
Who, what, where, when, why, and how. Fundamental storytelling. Answer those questions for the reader within the first 5 pages, and they will figure out the rest. And you can say, hey, now you know everything. You're acclimated to the journey we're on. Let's go. And now they're for it. Otherwise, if you can't answer any of those questions, especially at least half of them, you got to at least answer who, what, and where. If you can't answer any of those in the first 5 pages for the reader and you can't set them up, man, that's not going to be a fun time for anybody. It's not going to be a fun time for them. And it's not going to be a fun time for you, because they're not going to stick with you as a reader. And you only get that one shot. You can't make that first impression twice. So when they read those first couple of pages, really hit them with what you got. But again, don't bombard them. Don't confuse them. Be clear. Clarity is king with storytelling.
Yeah, no, it's especially for me, because I kind of review a really wide variety, both old comics, new comics, the European comics and the Japanese manga. And it's just something I've noticed about a lot of these crowdfunded comics is just, I mean, a lot of them I feel do need editors, but I understand that, not everybody is going to be able to raise the money to get an editor or knows an editor. But even if you can't do that, please kind of listen and be considerate of what the reader's trying to get here. They want to like your story. Why would they back it if they didn't want to enjoy your story? So, if there's problems with it, listen, there's no maliciousness into this, right? Well, at least I hope there isn't. But I don't know. I had to kind of let this out. There's been like a couple crowdfunded comics I got in where, like, my goodness, the art is just gorgeous. It's just beautiful, beautiful illustration, but the storytelling needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it's nothing personal, but like, some of this could have been avoided with just some guiding hands from like, an editor or someone just helping them out. Right.
Absolutely.
And it's a little frustrating because, you wait so long for this and you spend a lot of money, and, if it just had a little bit of work in the editing room, it could have been really good. I mean, like, case in point, you were talking about Star Wars, right? Episode 4 would have been a disaster in its original state. Yeah, it kind of was saved in the editing room.
Yep. Well, it's always funny to me when there's creators that are like, well, who is the reader or whoever to say how you're supposed to create your story? I'm like, honestly, what kind of stories have you read? Because unless we're talking about the one person sitting at the campfire telling everybody a story, everything made professionally goes through not only your own drafts and revisions and everything else, but also, you say to your spouse or your friend or this or that, what do you think of it? And then at the professional level, even further with editors and this and that and whatever. And by the time that story gets out there, you've already had probably like 15 people tell you what to do, and you probably already rewrote it about 5 or 6 times. So when it becomes this weird attitude of like, well, who's the reader to say anything about that sort of stuff? I want to be like, there's people out there that get paid to say stuff about that sort of stuff. So what the heck kind of world are you living in where just someone has a story, they tell it, and no one at all is supposed to ever say anything about it in any way, shape, or form? It's a very weird mindset to have. It's not a good mindset to have, and it's a mindset that's not going to help you to grow and be successful as a storyteller. It's going to keep you at a plateau that you're very comfortable with, and then that's it. And you'll never go further than that because you already think, hey, I know everything there is to know. I'm the end all be all. I know everything, and I don't need to grow. So whatever you have to say in terms of, even if it's very helpful feedback, I don't need it. I'm all set. And you're like, okay, well, you do you. And you just move along and find someone else to support. It's just as easy as that. And there's a lot of creators out there that they just, for some reason, they just think they're all set and that's it. It's good enough for them. And then it's like, okay, well, it is good enough for you. It's not good enough for me, and probably not a bunch of other people too. But as long as you're happy with it and you got that fridge at home with a nice big old magnet, you can stick that thing on the fridge right there and look at it every day and go, yeah, I did it. And that's good for you. Okay.
Yeah, no, so not, the people that I've kind of experienced with, a lot of them have had, really good attitudes towards criticism and I guess feedback. Right. But I have seen, obviously, I mean, it's been documented pretty well over the last 5-6 years, many comic book pros that don't have a very good attitude towards reader feedback. And, not to kind of continue bringing the Japanese stuff into it, just because, I mean, manga's kind of been in the news of putting the beat down on American comics, which, kind of understandable.
Like they're just discovering that, though. I don't understand. It's been that way for a while.
Yeah, I know it has been that way for a while. Yeah. People.
Or is it because finally American comics are like, oh wait, let's make a clear distinction between the American comics and the Japanese comics, and look at the figures and go, oh crap, we thought we were part of this the whole time. It looks like we've been getting carried the whole time, trying to take the coattails of Japanese manga.
Well, you want to know what's really fascinating? I was doing some research for a video review, and I found a really old interview by Joe Duffy. And it's fascinating. She was doing an interview for some random website that does both manga and comics. And she was talking about when Marvel got the license to do a Godzilla crossover, like way back in the 70s. And even though it sold well in America, I mean, like Toho, the Japanese owner of Godzilla, were like extremely disappointed because I think it only sold like 200 or 300,000 in America. And they were expecting that comic book to sell like several million because that's what they sold in Japan.
Bless their heart.
Yeah, no. And yeah. and she was just kind of saying, like, even back in the golden age of, I wouldn't say the golden age, that's kind of misleading, but really the heyday of comics, the 80s, early 90s, etc. Even back then, the Japanese were selling way more than us in their homeland, right? Maybe not necessarily here in America, but they were absolutely crushing it back in where they were at. It's really fascinating.
They never had that part of and this is the last thing I said before we move on to another guest, and it's been a great conversation with you. But as far as the Japanese and manga goes and anime and everything else, they never did what American comics did, was decide that let's move on and away from it because the kids, they're just not interested in that. They want video games and this and that. They were like, we're still making manga. Why the heck would we not make manga? Why would we not continue to make anime? Why would we not continue to just add upon? It's always the American comic industry has had such a weird defeatist chip on its shoulder for so many decades. And it's now catching up to a point where they've missed out an entire generation of readers and they're trying to play catch up. And it's every single thing that they've done. They've zigged when they should have zagged. Every single thing that they've done in the past 20 to 30 years. It's absolutely unbelievable the amount of mistakes that the overall American comic book industry has made to put itself in this predicament. This isn't like, 2 or 3 years and, or COVID came along or any of the nonsense some of these people want to spew. This is decades of just misstep after misstep. And along the way, they got lucky with some things, but it was, again, out of sheer luck. Stuff that they didn't think was going to take off, stuff that they didn't think was going to do well and catch on, and then it did. And then again, of course, like the American comic industry always does, like I spoke with Samuel before, once something does take off, pedal to the metal. Oh, Walking Dead took off. Every friggin' thing's got to be zombies now for 5 or 6 years till everyone hates zombies. It's like
I think
they are chasing trends instead of making trends. And that's the American comic industry in a nutshell the past 30 years.
Yeah, Zach, I think, said it best a while back. And he basically said that American comics stopped believing in themselves. And I mean, it's kind of sad because it's a beautiful medium. But, it's run by people who don't believe in themselves and the people working in it don't believe in the product or themselves, of course, it's not going to be successful.
Yeah.
Right? Anyhow, I've been on a little too long here, Pete. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for joining tonight. Appreciate the conversation and have a great night, man.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's see. K Manifesto, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, thanks for all you do, Pete. Well, thank you, K Manifesto, for the support. And thank you, everybody, also in the chat for being here tonight. We're switching it up. We're not doing Open Mic Monday tonight. It's kind of like an open mic still because the link is pinned to the top of the chat, wherever that may be on your screen. And you can come on the show, promote, talk about something, ask a question, vent, whatever it may be. There's no actual topic at hand tonight. So whatever it is that you guys want to talk about, I'm here for it. All right, let's see who we have next. We've got, it's James Lee, creator of the Steins and Dark Goddess. What's up, James?
Hey, got some great news on the Steins and Dark Goddess. Right now on Amazon, for the first time ever, the hardback of the Steins is on sale for 30% off. So if you want it, I put the hyperlink earlier. I'm sure there'll be another one that's going right now. And right now, I am going to debut the cover to the Steins 2, which is coming out in September. But this, hold on, if I can get you just, let me get to share the screen.
Yeah. If you could share the screen, I'll pop it up here.
And there we go. And that is the cover of the Steins 2. It is coming out in September. So this is the first time anybody has seen this. It was done by Jose Garcia of Luminary and Cyberfrog Manga Frame. He did a fantastic job. So that's Jose's the cover. Great. So that is the cover of the Steins 2 that will be coming out in September. And it is going off to the publishers probably next week.
Very nice. Congrats.
It's all ready to go. And get out of that. If you can go give me full screen for just a second.
Sure.
I am going to debut the cover, not that screen.
Oh, you.
I'm going to debut the cover that I just did of the Dark Goddess. This is the cover here of the Dark Goddess for the book I'm working on now, which is being worked on now. I have the first 5 pages drawn and inked. And I'm looking to launch that on Indiegogo probably by the end of the year or first of next year. So that's going to be coming out also. So everything is ramping up and getting ready to go.
Very nice. Man, you got a lot of irons in the fire. That's great, man.
Yep. So yeah, like I said, the Steins is on sale, so you can pick it up. As you can see on the screen, I have it at Yahoo. It's $17.40. I mean, on Amazon, $17.44. That's 30% off. This is the first time Amazon has ever put the hardback on sale. They usually do the paperback, but this is the first time. So if you want the hardback, get it now.
Awesome. And do I have you as a mod for this channel? So
yes, you do.
A link? Okay, great. Yeah, make sure to post
a link right after I get done here. Other than that, but that's everything that's going on right now. Dark Goddess is turning out really well. It's going to look really good.
Rex Doom wants some of your title belts. Yeah, I want some of those too. Those are great.
Well, I've got some rare ones. I've got the old WCCW Von Erich's title belt, and I also have an IWGP version 4 heavyweight championship belt.
Oh man.
So yes, well, I used to do some work for New Japan Pro Wrestling and NWA back in the early 20s. So
wow, awesome, man.
So but yeah, that's everything. Like I said, I came in real quick. I don't want to take too much time because I think we're running a little low on time. So like I said, came in, promote the books. So go get them. If you like vampires, werewolves, that's why I do the horror stuff and I'm not doing the superhero stuff. Because there's a lot open up, especially in novels and in comics for horror and dark stories. So that's what I'm focusing on. So if you, and I'll say this about the Steins also, if you are a fan of the Munsters, you'll love the Steins. Just think of the Munsters as serious, dark, and gritty.
Oh, and this is not a comic book or graphic novel, right?
No, this is a novel. So this is, you're going to get a full novel on this. The Dark Goddess is comic. It'll be a graphic novel. I'm looking at between 100 and 100. I'm looking about 100 to 160 pages for that. And like I said, the Steins 2 will also be a novel coming out in September. And then in 2022, Steins 3 will come out.
Fantastic. Well, that's awesome, man. Thank you so much for stopping by and sharing this. Everybody go check out the Steins. Currently, it's on Amazon. Is it being sold anywhere else?
It's being sold everywhere.
Everywhere.
Walmart, Kmart, Barnes & Nobles. If you're in Europe, I can't remember, but a lot of the bookstores in Europe, I know it's on sale in England, France, Germany, Romania, Norway, Sweden. Amsterdam's got copies. I know New Zealand, Australia, Japan, and in Korea. So you can get it anywhere in those things. But basically, any bookstore you want to go to, they either have it, or they can order it, or you can get digital copies basically from anybody. Even Apple has the digital copies.
Fantastic. Well, that's great, man. Thank you so much for sharing this. And again, put that link to wherever you want to put it. Put it in the chat. And James, thank you, buddy.
Take care.
Take care. All right. So again, we have a comic book radio show tonight. If you haven't seen comic book radio before, it's basically like an open mic Monday, but it's not timed. There's no timey Tim. There's no just promote your show, your project kind of a thing. It's not just a promote show. It's you could talk about anything you want to talk about. You got something to ask, you got something to complain about, whatever it may be. It's up to you. The conversation, wherever you want to steer it, I shall follow. Up next, we have, I don't even know if he's there. I'm not seeing him. Is he there? Don Chin, are you there? No, he's not there. We'll come back to Don. Poor Don. Oh, boy. We will come back to you, Don. On to our next guest. We have Statistical Zero. What's up, Statistical Zero? How's it going, my friend?
He got that aquarium up.
I know. Yeah, he got that up, but he's gone.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
How's it going, my friend? What's on
great.
your mind tonight?
Oh, I wanted to.
I'm enjoying the bird image there with the same hat.
Oh, heck yeah, America. I was just doing a warm-up sketch. I wanted to just pop on, say hi, and just tell you to your face that the newsprint idea that's an amazing thing to keep comics going.
I know. I always thought it was when I was a kid. And then when they went away from it, I was like, man, these just don't feel like comics to me anymore.
I've been trying to keep comics alive with comic strips for years. I had a daily thing for like 4 years. with like a 400 and something person readership. But yeah, it's a lot of fun to be able to buy books again, because I haven't bought a Big Two book for 2012. I think was the last new one I got.
Oh, no way. It kind of almost sounds like my buying habits of the Big Two. After Marvel's first Civil War and the way that ended, I was like, I'm done.
Oh,
that was kind of it for me.
A versus X and Return of Bruce Wayne are what finally murdered me.
Oh, no, so 2012. What? Yeah, actually, that was way earlier than that. 2012. Man, that was like probably 2008.
Oh, yeah, that was
2007.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was the last time I consistently purchased anything from the Big Two, especially that after that. And then once the new 52 came along, I gave it a little bit of a shot, and then I was done.
I came back to Superman Rebirth. I bought some of like the old used trades, stuff like that, because it seemed like they were moving back, and then they
yeah,
killed it.
Exactly. You know, I got really tired of it, and I think in terms of the Big Two, now all that I do is I just go through my back issues, what I'm missing, and I just slowly fill that up and pick up anything that just even looks remotely interesting to me, which I'm shocked that so much of it does, especially stuff that I looked through as a kid. I was like, I don't really like this, and I'll go for my stuff. And now it's become the stuff that's just like so from back in the day compared to a lot of the modern stuff just looks amazing. And I'm man, so I pick it up and I'm like, this is great. This is fantastic. A to even kind of like a below average book from like the 80s. I'm finding I enjoy it far more than anything from the past 5 years.
Isn't it funny how that makes you look back, and you're back in the day, you might have thought, this isn't that great. And you go back and go, wow, look at that.
Yeah. So anyone out there that's always like, it's just nostalgia. You know, I'm like, I didn't like this though back in the day. Now I like it.
Or just finding stuff for the first time.
It's very interesting. Yeah.
No, but I've got to say, just like with the alternative stuff, I'm even having more fun sketching these guys than I have like Spider-Man and stuff like that.
That's great. So many great characters at Alterna.
Absolutely right. And it came out on a Wednesday that I tried out on. It's a heck of a barometer for what you guys do. For anybody that hasn't done that, if you're watching this on replay, that's a great one to like.
Yeah. Well, I've been really appreciating the Peanuts style version of me that you've been making. It gives me a chuckle every time.
Well, I'm glad to hear it.
Look at that! You're changing on the fly right there.
Hurry, chat. One of us must be shot. Who is it?
It's like I'm looking into a mirror.
Bird mirror.
Yeah, bird mirror indeed. Well, yeah, I really like the one that when I did that stupid stupid Macho Man type promo thing, and then you put up one, and that was really funny, man. I could hear the voices. I was reading it. I was like, man, I guess people kind of dig this. I've always loved wrestling. When I was a kid with my cousins, we would always wrestle, and we'd always like emulate our favorite wrestlers and stuff. I was always either Roddy Piper and shoot my mouth off, or I was Macho Man. And you know, my cousins would even be like 5, 6, 8 years older than me. And bigger than me too. I'd be like maybe 10 or 11 at the time, maybe sometimes I think maybe even 8 or 9 when we first started. And it'd be a couple of my cousins my age, a couple of my cousins that were older. We were all into wrestling, and we would just set up mattresses and we would just like wrestle the crap out of each other and just like beat each other up. And oh man, it was the best. And we'd all be like smack talking and doing promos and whatever. I was like, let me just tap into a little bit of that from when I was a kid, because I loved it so much.
And then you go play the NES game.
Yeah. Oh, I love that game, man.
Steel Cage Challenge or something.
It'd be like, you know, they're just doing the little.
You're talking the first one where they did like this weird kick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Great stuff. Absolutely great. I'm glad that people are enjoying and having fun with it. We just put up Dave Lucarelli. Some of the Alterna guys are getting into it too. And Dave Lucarelli put up one where he's calling out Ryan Wynn.
I've been noticing that. That
was great.
It's a great way to hype all the books.
Yeah, I hope they all pair up and do rivalries and, you know, and smack talk each other. Maybe we could build up to like an Alterna Mania or something, and everybody just takes shots at each other, start showing off the books and pointing out, you know, oh yeah, you got this, Ryan Wynn, but what do you got? What can you do when Abigail Moore's coming for you? You know, something. anything they want to
tell
do.
you something, brother.
It'd be so much fun.
I'd be all in.
Yeah,
I'd be there watching. That'd be great.
They're great guys too. So all the creators
yeah.
at Alterna right now, oh man, they're fantastic.
I've been getting to know their channels a little bit more lately. Just like I didn't even know half of them had channels, and now I'm finding like Geronimo's. That's a lot of fun. Like the way he talks, he and both Ryan Wynn, how they talk about comics. It gets you excited to work on them. It gets you excited to like listen to them versus like who said what in the comic book industry that everybody's angry about. You kind of like, that's the kind of stuff I feel like makes people want to walk away.
Yeah.
Versus just talking about just like, you know what I love this, and then they go, oh, me too, oh my gosh, and then you're like, yeah, I want to do that, me too.
No, it's great to see. That's something that also I don't know if it's because we've just been around each other for a couple of years at this point, but everybody inspires everybody else, and everybody's bringing out the best in each other, and that's what I really love about this modern era of Alterna creators. This batch in particular right now is so great. These guys, I got a lot of love for them. They're so talented. They're so hardworking. They're so passionate about the stories they're creating, and they're so all about getting it in front of the readers, engaging with them. Whether it's feedback in the positive or the negative or whatever it is, as long as they're there to talk with you guys and you're there to talk with them, that's what they're there for.
I've noticed
and they love it. Yeah, they're great. And you know what? The reason they could take a punch. The reason they could take a punch is because I give them a couple here and there. I bring them down a couple notches every now and then. Even someone like Christian Rossi, he sends me the cover for it. Came out on Wednesday, number 10. It was perfect. He didn't do anything wrong, and just to mess with him a little bit because he knows how much I'm I'm over the moon on everything that he does. But I'm like, it's a little bit too bright. Can you lower it a little bit? So he'll send it in, and he'll do it. He'll send it back. I'm like, oh yeah, looks good now. Looks good. And then I just go with the first thing he sent me anyway. And I told him afterwards. I was like, I just messed with you. I was like, you're great. I was like, I gotta mess with you a little bit because I don't want your heads getting big. And he had a good laugh about it. Christian's fantastic. They're all great. They're all wonderful. I seriously, I got so much love for these guys. They're just. I couldn't ask for a better.
So positive, he makes me mad.
Frankie's fantastic. I've known him since like 2008 or something like that. Since I was starting out, and
it's a lot of energy and a lot of positivity in one man. Holy crap, I love it.
He's legit. He's genuine. He's the real deal. He's fantastic.
And that's the kind of thing that builds followings as well. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, conduct and talent are what brought me over to be constantly watching Alterna. So much so that it might be creepy. I'm showing up in all kinds of chats like, hello, everybody. Oh, shoot, him again.
Hey, no, it's not creepy at all. Feel free to show up to whatever. You probably show up to more than I get the opportunity to show up to. I'm always like, oh, I just missed one. Like I just missed the one today between Ryan and David. I had to watch it on replay.
Oh, I was going to say, you have this phantom like talent of just like, so I was talking to Pete Cimetti, and then you see in the chat, someone say my name.
I've had that happen a couple of times where people have been talking about me, and it's literally when I just click on the show to just see what's going on, and I'm like, what is up with this? Like the 6th time this has happened in the past like 2 weeks. Thank you so much though for supporting, man. Thank you for always being in the chats and being ever present.
Easy.
And thanks for being a positive voice out there and putting good stuff out there for everybody to see. I agree. Yeah, thank you. Because there's some days where I feel less than positive, and I'm being sometimes less than positive. But it's always though a means to a positive end, So that's how that's what I tell myself.
Oh, we all got events sometimes.
Beat myself up too bad. I'm only human. But thank you so much, man. Lovey's doing great.
Awesome.
We can't ask for a better recovery than she's had. Oh man, the first couple of days was sort of scary, but then she's been fantastic, and now she's back to doing what a cat like her does, which is sometimes you go to give her a pet, just be nice, and then she's like and just try to bite you. And I'm like, oh, she's good now. The first couple of days, she didn't want to. Actually, the first 2 weeks, she was still so sore. She didn't want to try to bite, didn't want to try to do nothing. Now she tries to play with the bites and everything else. But the poor thing, when she does it, we could see the teeth she's missing and everything else. But God bless her. She tries. She tries to be ferocious. So we love the fact that she's doing that. It makes us laugh every time. She doesn't really, sink her teeth in, but she's trying.
Just so you remember. Well, that's awesome. I just wanted to come on and say hi in person for once, and say hi to the chat with my voice, and just tell you you're doing a great job. And I'll be here for a long time if it keeps up.
Well, keep up the great work, man. You're doing some awesome stuff, and people in the community, I absolutely love you too. So,
thanks, dude.
Yeah, keep making those awesome comic strips. You got a real knack for it. I mean, are you ever putting out like a book or a crowdfunder or anything that features your comic strips?
The work that I did before, it's like 1,400 strips. I'm redoing them. I mean, because like I said on Twitter today, when you're not comfortable with something, you want to prescribe yourself something to do when you're not, if you're not very good at drawing women, you want to, maybe do some comic strips where you're drawing women all the time. You're not so good at dogs, you draw dogs until you get good at it. So this is kind of where I switched from like trying to do real comic art, like all the muscles and stuff, to cartoony stuff because it's faster and stuff. So I had to switch my style up. So to do that, I prescribed myself a comic strip, a daily one, because you got to get it done. But so I'm redrawing all of those with color because the other ones were in black and white. And eventually I'll do something with them, whether it's collect them into a collection or just restart them daily again with 4 years of strips. I mean, that'll go away. But in the meantime, just having fun talking to people, building my name on Twitter. Ended up in chats.
You're doing a great job of getting around, I think, anyway. Whenever your stuff comes around and I get a chance to retweet it or I see it or whatever, people I'm noticing really love it. And so keep it up, man. You're doing a great job.
I'll never figure out how many people you're following you even see my stuff.
You're bringing joy to a lot of people. So
I hope so.
Thank you.
Yeah. You have a good night.
All right, man. You too, brother. Appreciate you.
Bye, everybody.
That's nice. I don't think I ever talked to Statistical Zero before, voice to voice. Good dude. All right. Up next, we've got Don Chin, who I brought you on and you were gone. And I thought it was a joke or you were going to do something, but it was just the aquarium.
I'm sorry, Pete. I had to take my dogs out before I put them into their beds,
Oh, okay. I got you. It's cool. Don't worry about it.
I thought comic book radio would not have any visuals, so I was picturing myself being able to eat while I was talking to you. But
it's you're on here. People can see you. They can choose to listen if they want. I think we all have faces made for radio, more or less. You being far more adorable than me.
No,
but of course, people can in fact take a look at what it is you'd like to show. What is that? Is that Beard Zerker right here?
Yeah. But by the way, happy Memorial Day to you. And my wife and I were very touched by your donation to the armed forces. I thought that was super cool. So
yeah, we try to do something like that every single year. And last year they weren't taking anything because of COVID. And I was like, oh man, like they weren't the places that you normally donate to. In fact, one of them actually closed completely because of COVID. We were heartbroken by that. They did such a good job. We donated to Books for Troops for the longest time, and they closed last year because everything with that. So this year we're donating to another charity.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I can't either right now. It's Operation Gratitude or it's a different one. I got to look into it and figure which one would be better. But yeah, last year we couldn't do anything so this year I was like, let's do it. Let's make sure we get something out there again, and we've done that before. So absolutely, it's the least we could do.
I like how you pay it forward. It inspires others, and I like your bandana, by the way. It's very.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's nice. I got a couple of those in for the summertime to be on the show and also out and about. It's good stuff. Otherwise, the hair just flies everywhere. It's ridiculous.
So hey, Pete, I was on last week, and Beard Zerker, we're into our final stretch. In fact, we're probably closing in the next I think 5 hours. So we are funded now. Since the last time I talked to you, we were just right on the cusp. And so since then, we've hit our first stretch goal, which is everybody gets the Beard Zerker guitar pick. And so our next goal is happening tonight. If we can hit 7,500, the promise from Michael Bancroft is that he will wear another manly blouse that we prearranged. So if you folks get bored and if Pete's show is over by 8, please, or 11 o'clock your time, please pop over to Michael Bancroft's channel as we're having a closeout for Beard Zerker. And it should be a lot of fun. If you've seen him in a puffy pirate shirt, this is going to totally outdo that by I can't even describe. So,
but he doesn't want to be a pirate.
I think he's getting into this character.
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah,
he's been DMing me on a private chat, and I think he's all gung ho. So, anyways, I did run a special for tonight, knowing that I was going to be on your show. So, if any of the people out there pop on to Indiegogo and you type in Beard Zerker, or just go to beardzerker.com, which is with 2 Z's, you'll come to our Indiegogo page. And so the very top tier that we're offering for tonight is $77 for all 7 variants. So that's $4 off each normal $15 priced comic book. And that includes, She, Rainbow the Brute, U.S. Assassin, Kanan White, and we have a movie poster type cover, and also Dax Martian. That's the guitar pick everybody's going to get. This, of course, is Michael Bancroft in a puffy pirate shirt. This is just some of the interior artwork that I've updated.
He's like, hey, look at me. I'm on a reverse toilet. I got kangaroos in the trees, koalas on the ground. I'm eating eucalyptus with them. Yum, yum, yum. Yeah, that's Michael Bancroft. Look at him.
Look at his wingspan. He looks like he could play in the NBA.
Look at his freakishly giant hands. Down in Australia, they make him real weird.
He does have big hands.
So they could climb the trees.
Oh, man. We love to tease him. This is some of the interior artwork by my friend and longtime collaborator, Bill Mouse. Letters are by your friend and mine, Keith Gleason, who should be also on the show tonight with Michael and Bill. And I think my wife is actually getting ready upstairs to make her very first streaming appearance. So that's going to be really exciting.
Nice.
Yeah. And this is Jim O'Reilly's cover, which is the 7th cover that we just added. So yeah, anybody wants to get the pack, you can do that, or you can just get individual copies for $15. They're signed free of charge. We're just having a lot of fun with this, Pete. It's obviously it's a parody of Keanu. Berserker from Boom Studios, Bill and Ted, Matrix, John Wick, just everything that we love about Keanu. And we are having a great time. This book should probably ship in July. We're a little bit behind schedule, but I'm talking July 2021, so you don't really have to wait.
Wow.
So we're just moving right ahead, and we're having a lot of fun. And after tonight, I can take a big sigh of relief, and we'll do it again. I don't know what we're going to do next, but I'm not done.
Well, congrats, man. I didn't doubt you for a second that you would hit the goal for this. I'm so glad that you did. And I have a feeling you're going to raise significantly more than
Thank
that.
you.
When you go on the Bancroft show, he's got that Bancroft bump.
Yeah.
The one that he's always bragging about, that braggadocious Michael Bancroft. Seriously, he's like, come on my show. Your campaign's going to be great. It's going to explode like a bloomin' onion from the outback. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope so. That'd be great. That would be great. But I want to thank you and your faithful crowd too. We've got a lot of support from your channel, and just thank you for retweeting on Twitter and just all your support.
Thank you, Don. Seriously, you don't have to thank me, man. Thank you. You're incredible, man. You seriously, your generosity, your enthusiasm, the fact that you're not just coming out here and making comics and you're jumping around on channels, but you're also establishing your own platform. You're getting other people on there. You're helping other people out with their books too. It's inspiring, I think, for a lot of the up and comers to also see the fact that you could have success, step away a bit, come back, contribute further, be humble about it, have more success, and continue to pay it forward as well. And seriously, don't thank me, man. You're doing a killer job, and a lot of people love you, and everybody in the chat I think loves you too. You're absolutely you're a hero in the comic, especially the indie comic world. Oh goodness gracious, man! Thank you,
thanks, buddy. I appreciate that, and you know it. The feeling is mutual. It's like a big. I want to give you a big hug, Pete. Maybe someday at a con. Oh, my brother from another mother.
Absolutely.
I was going to ask you, did your now your mom was Chinese or your dad was Chinese?
My mom, yeah. And you know what? Funny enough, right? My grandmother, her maiden name is Chin.
Wow, really?
Yes,
We might be related.
We could be.
Did your mom ever make chow mein with meatballs?
No.
No. That sounds kind of good.
Possibly.
I would eat that with Maine noodles with an Italian meatball.
No, I think my dad would have, given her the what for?
Oh man!
He'd be like, "Oh, what is it? This you put the meatballs in the chow mein? What the hell?"
Oh, my friend. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I'm sorry I took a little dip out to tend to the pets, but they're like family members, and you gotta. Well, when you have dogs, you have to let them out so they can do their business. But cats are easier, huh? They just have a little litter box.
I don't know how they know either. You bring them home and they know to go to the bathroom, and heaven forbid. And I've said this before to Erin. I was like, what if you got one of those turtles, those like sand turtles the kids play in and that kind of a thing? What if you got one of those lying around and the cats are just like, that's my litter box. That must be where I go.
That'd be fun. I don't think the turtle would like that.
If I have the space, I'm gonna get one. I'm gonna put it in the room and make a whole room for Lovey or whatever, and she's gonna go in one of those turtles, and that's gonna be her litter box. I tell you, I think it's economical too.
Yeah, it's pretty smart. Well, give Lovey a big pet, and I'm glad that she's doing better. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much, man.
Okay,
well, Don, all the best to you. Beardzerker #1 right now is funding on Indiegogo. 5 hours are left. And what time again are you going to the Bancroft show?
It's in about a half hour from now.
Okay. All right. Half hour from now. So 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific. Is that correct? Okay.
Yep. Thanks, Pete. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much, Don. Best of luck, buddy.
All right. Bye-bye.
But yeah, I don't know how cats know. It must be like instinctual. I don't know. They're just like, oh, yeah, I go there. It's very interesting. All right. Let's see who we have coming up next. We have Pete Engstrom. What's up, Pete?
Hey, yo. What's up? Get my Razor Ramon going. Hey, yo. Patriotic Pete. Happy Memorial Day, Chico. Bring it.
Thank you. Thank you, brother.
How's everybody doing? So yeah, I got a question for you. And I was thinking about this the other day, and I was wondering what genres in comic books do you wish you saw more of? Like for me personally, I love Westerns. Like Westerns are just my go-to, my bread and butter. I love Westerns. And, recently, I take my son to the library and they have a whole Pete and Pete. Neither one of us have red hair. I don't know how well that's going to
work. We're the updated, diversified version.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I'm the tokenized, minority, marginalized, whatever.
I don't know what I would be. I don't know. I'm too old.
I don't know. You're the old white dude with kids.
Yeah, exactly. Get off my lawn.
Markets. Yeah, we're in different markets here. I'm sure the show's going to be a smashing success.
Oh, exactly. Canceled after the pilot. It wouldn't even matter. Yeah. It wouldn't even make it past the pilot stage.
But the thing is that if none of these people watch it, if they don't like it, they're all a bunch of bigots.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Par for the course. It's not that we screwed up and made an awful product.
Right, exactly. It's just that it's everybody else's fault. Why didn't you like this? This is, it gets worse and worse, doesn't it? I don't know. Is it the Hadron Collider? Is that what did it all? Do we just go back? I don't know. I don't know what's to blame for this mess we're in, but something we took a wrong turn somewhere in the past couple decades. But anyways,
history started following Simpsons episodes, and not particularly even the good ones.
Right. Oh my God, that's a perfect. It couldn't have said it better myself. That's exactly what had happened. It's funny when like the Babylon Bee puts something out, and then like a month later, it's like real. And I'm like, what is going on? This is like, I just needed a DeLorean with a flux capacitor and go back a handful of decades, and I'll bring my family with me. But that's about it. The rest of you guys are on your own.
Ashton Jackal for $2. Thank you for supporting. Says we use Pete as a shield by giving him money. Yeah, I heard that a lot actually. Oh my Lord, the things people would say. Stupid people would say, of course, I have to put that qualifier there just to give a clear distinction between normal, rational, intelligent people and completely irrational, stupid, paranoid, hysterical, possibly racist people.
Yeah.
Very clear distinction between that. But yeah, people would say that. It's unbelievable. But as far as getting back to your question, though, Westerns would be great. I would love to see more Westerns in comics. I would also love to see more kind of like, I hate to use the word fantasy when I talk about something that's more like medieval, but more like, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, that kind of style in a comic. I think that could be really cool, especially if you blended genres. I love stuff that's mashed up. So if you had like a horror Western, if you had like a horror, even like a medieval kind of a thing, or super powered medieval characters, and don't get ridiculous with the superpowers, just enough to make it interesting. Don't overpower the characters.
Yeah, just to make it like an interesting, different universe that they're in. It's just like it looks familiar, but there's something a little bit different, and it's not so like smash you over the head that it's, too much of a goof. Yeah, I like that. That's a pretty cool.
Graham Nolan's got Alien Alamo. Have you seen that?
I have, and I'm looking forward to that one for sure. I guess he's going to be at Terrificon this year.
Of course, now that I've sworn off Terrificon, everyone's going.
Yeah, well,
swear.
Billy Tucci's going to be there, and Graham Nolan's going to be there, and so I'm not sure if I'm going to be going. If I do go, they're probably the two creators that I'm going to probably gravitate towards. And
yeah, they're great guys.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, great guys. And I love Graham's Saturday morning Westerns. Like he's done a handful of Westerns that I love, and just I never catch it live because life's too busy. But when I find the time, I'm always entertained by his take on the Western of the week, even the ones that I haven't seen, because there's hundreds of Westerns. There's a lot of them that I've never watched. There's a lot of them I have, but there's a lot of them that I haven't. And so that's a lot of fun to kind of hear his take. And one of my favorites, he was talking about the Rifleman and how he was at a convention with the one and only Chuck Connors, and he brought in his Winchester.
Wow.
For him to sign. And this is back decades ago when you pre 9/11, all this, when you could probably do something like bring a actual firearm to a convention, and Chuck signed it, and he Graham held it up for the camera. I'm like, oh man, that is so cool. But yeah, I'm rambling. Sorry.
This is the right show to do it.
Any other genres? Anything else that kind of piques your interest? I hear what you're saying about the fantasy. I recently found some old Conan comics. They had like the Marvel magazines, and I was digging through those, and boy, those were really cool to go back and read.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with a lot of not just comics but storytelling in general in modern day is this weird kind of trying to bend the genre to what you think it should be, as opposed to being proud that this is the genre you're in and tell the story within some of the confines, some of the limitations of that genre, because those limitations will actually force you to be creative. And you can have all of these unique setups. It's very much like superhero comics, the way they've went astray, where everyone's thinking, tell this big, huge, epic story. Why don't you just tell some smaller stories? You know, each episode, one by one, done. Episodic storytelling really helps to build along and create a world in a very organic way where you can help introduce characters. And then you can have, you know, those 3, 4, 5 parters that are these epic kind of, you know, the scales are really ratcheted up. But if you just started off with every single thing has to feel, you know, like a big, epic, huge story, you have to be a very talented writer to be able to pull that off. And most people just aren't. It's just, that's just the way it is. You're trying to be someone who's like one out of like every 1,000 or 10,000 writers, creators. And tell these kinds of stories that you could really pull off with finesse and a lot of tension building and the characterization is there and this and that. Don't do that to yourself. Just stick to telling these smaller stories, these more intimate stories and stuff that you can build up and progress in a natural way. And I think a lot of storytelling just in general has gone away from that. You know, people look at that kind of stuff and go, oh, you know, that's so passe or whatever. But then at the same time, is it really passe? Because at the same time, you're looking at it and going back and saying, well, what are the most rewatched shows of all time? What are the most reread comics that are evergreen of all time? It's all these stories that are episodic in nature. Even something like Batman, the animated series. Everything's episodic. You know, it isn't just, and stuff carries through, but every single episode presents a different situation, a new character, a new problem, a new dilemma. And for some reason, that's just not really the way people like to tell stories, even though that's such an easier way to tell stories. And it's also a way to get new people always coming into it. And you don't have to constantly play catch up for them because you have strong characterization. And here's the situation of the week, the issue, the whatever it may be. It's strange to me how people have written themselves away from that kind of thing. When if anything, too, it's also easier to relate to. As a human being, it's a lot easier to say each day, take a day at a time, you know, as opposed to every single day. If you wake up and you're thinking about your whole entire life, you start the morning off thinking about your whole entire life, what you're going to have to do then also the rest of your entire life. And that's kind of the way storytelling is now, is it forces you to constantly think about every single thing that came before and every single thing that possibly could happen. It's just an insane way to tell a story and an insane way to live. Who would live that way? Take one day at a time, one episode at a time.
Well, I think a lot of the problem is like they all think they're Alan Moore. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people.
That's what I'm talking about. Is that
and you know they have this big idea, and it's fine to have a big idea. It's okay to have an idea that's like, you know, a big universe with a lot of moving parts and everything. But at the same time, you know, like you said, the perfect analogy is just like, how do you live your life? You know, do you do it one day at a time, or do you live 1 year like in just pack everything into 1 year? You don't. You just kind of gradually work towards, you know, whatever it is. And, you know, episodic, you know, is you know, it's funny. My son and I just we were talking about the death of Superman. And, you know, I dug out my old Death of Superman trade, and I had the Death of Superman, Funeral for a Friend, and Return of Superman. So, you know, he's only 6, so his attention span isn't what it probably should be. So we kind of, you know, fast forward a few issues. But then once we got to the Return of Superman, he's like, well, who's this guy? And who's this guy? And who's this guy? And he's kind of more into like gradually moving on to like, well, who's this character and how does that fit in? Who's this character and how does that fit in? And I'm having a blast reading it. He's kind of like, again, he wants the cliff notes, he wants the action beats, but it's a slow and steady build, and all the while Superman's coming back, and how he fits into all this. And event comics aren't like that anymore. It's been so long since I read an event comic from the big two. I mean, we're talking ages. I've sworn them off. They're not getting my money. But it seems like every year every month. What am I talking about? Every year, every month they want to do this big event and just cram as much stuff into a thing as possible, as opposed to just gradually building it up, and even taking breaks, even having an issue or two where it's not part of the overall story, but it's just like
Well, those are some of my most well-loved issues when I was a kid. Oh, I loved like the in-between stuff where it was just complete break from what was going on, or even just another set of characters to focus on what was happening with them. They don't really do a lot of that anymore. And also they shoot themselves in the foot now because they're constantly living in the future. They're constantly trying to promote ahead of time because of the way that this whole system is with the comic industry. So there's that kind of, if you've been reading comics for a while, you already know if you read the solicit, you're like, this story's going to go one of two directions, and both of them don't sound that interesting to me. And more than likely they do. And by the time that story gets on the stands, they've already kind of spoiled the next 3 or 4 issues anyway through promoting the other ones that are soon to come out. So you're like, why do I need to read the one that's here? The whole thing is just, they'd be better off with, just an overall description of like, just stick to the facts. Here's the characters. They're here. And, that's what's happening this month. And then you go to the stands, or, at this point, you go to the comic shop or whatever it may be, and then you pick up the issue. But they're almost like this weird, they're trying to live so much in the future with the way that they promote some of these issues. And that's when they promote them, that it just ends up becoming, like all I could think is the X-Men Hellfire Gala thing that they were doing. And it's, coming out in like months or whatever it may be. And they're pushing it and they're saying, oh, it's the end of an old era and the start of a new era. And then you read it and you're like, these are just like, just 12 issues for like a month or whatever. Every X title is going to have these stupid outfits or something that has to do with whatever. And it feels like, why didn't you guys just team up? Like if I was running things at Marvel, I'd say, and this is the direction that corporate wanted to go with it, I'd say, okay, you know what? Let's just do kind of like a swimsuit issue, but it's a fashion issue. Completely, you don't even need to have story. You just can have the outfits, also designed by some fashion designer that's relatively hot right now in terms of the Project Runway sphere. So this way you can get that crossover audience. And this way it's not a part of main continuity. It's just something that we can get a new audience to come in, take a look at it. We can have a press release out. We can get exposure there, and we can have this cross promotion effect. But as far as touching the main storyline, because it's such like, why the hell would anyone be interested in this? What, maybe 10% of our readers care about this? We don't do this. And if we want to touch upon it, they are dressed up. They go to an event. Something crazy happens at the event. And that's one issue that occurs. And we move on and we keep moving on. I don't know what's going on with the way things happen now, and I don't really care anymore either for the most part. So it's like, I just look at it now from a standpoint of being so far removed of just to amuse myself of like, well, if I was in their position, how would I do this? But other than that, I'm just not emotionally invested anymore. And I think a lot of people are kind of feeling the same way, unfortunately.
It's I haven't even gotten to that. Like, well, how would I do things? What would I like to see done? They're not going to get back to that. I've already kind of relegated myself to the fact that it's you can never go back. You can never go home. It's like if you like what you like, and and you see the writing on the wall and things are changing, and you don't like how it's going, take a step back and just be like, all right, well, if someone else likes it, awesome. I really don't care if this is a huge hit with people. Great. Honestly,
I wish it was all a huge hit with people. That's, if anything,
Yeah.
I wish it was all just, the sales wouldn't lie. The scoreboard's there, selling
Yeah.
millions of copies. Comics are more popular than ever before. There's no problems across the board. And I'm just sitting here yelling at clouds, along with the rest of us.
Sure.
I wish it was like that.
Well, yeah. And just the fact that like it isn't, and it's, you wonder where, I don't know, you just wonder where people's minds are that are running things, and what planet they're on, because you ask anybody that's kind of like outside of like certain spheres, and they just either they don't know about it because they're not interested, they do know about it and they're not happy about it, or they do know about it and they hate it and they want to just scream from the rooftops how much they hate it. So, and then there are the people that really, really like it, but that's, and good for them, honestly. Like if I honestly think that, like, people can, there are different things for different people. And if that's for you, then that's great. If that's not for you, then that's fine too.
Yeah.
It should be. Unfortunately,
that's what I find is the funniest part about so much of this too, right? Is the not for you thing. Is because that's so often the whole, well, it's not for you, so when they come in, they change it, and then you don't like it, and they go, well, it's not for you. But the person that comes in and changes it the first time that didn't like it the way it was never has that feeling of, hey, it wasn't for me.
Sure.
So I probably should just leave this alone and do something else.
You always hear it's like, oh, I'm the biggest fan of this, but it's certain aspects of it are problematic, and we're just gonna like change it. And it's just like, well, were you a fan of it?
And it's like the core fundamental thing,
Yes, right. It's just, you change Batman into like, he's driving a clown car, and he's got, a purple outfit. It doesn't even look like a bat. It looks like a monkey. And it's just like, wait a minute, like. But this is, well, hey, I'm such a huge Batman fan, and like, but I wanted to put my own spin on it and change what didn't work, and what didn't work for decades. It's maddening. It really is. You really kind of wonder what goes on in people's heads.
Yeah, the thing is, it's a top to bottom situation. So it's all these decisions that happen at the top with the corporate leadership, and then they trickle their way down. And there's obviously either a miscommunication, or these companies don't really care necessarily what's happening at the comic level, because merchandise wise, they sure as hell know what people are interested in. They know what sells. They know what looks iconic. They know what to put out there. They don't really take, they don't really play around too much with that. But they take liberties like crazy with the comics to try to appeal to this buzz in usually like the Twitter sphere kind of thing, and it never really works out.
Yeah, it's such a small faction of, how many millions of people are in the world, billions of people are in the world, and then how many millions are on Twitter. Like it's a percentage of a percentage. I mean, you think it's big, but if Twitter is dictating what is getting put in the comic books, I mean, that's just a small portion of what the world is. And if that's all they're going to listen to, then it's just like, well, what's the point?
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think the biggest reason that they do what they do with that has so much to do with the fact that both companies are now intrinsically tied into Hollywood. So it's more to impress their Hollywood overlords than it is to impress the readership or anyone else.
Or to
it's
set
more
up,
about
it's
following
to set up
their
like a writing gig in Hollywood. Yeah, that's such a great point of like they're intertwined now, where they, comics were comics and then Hollywood was Hollywood, and every once in a while there would be some crossover. Like a movie would come out, or a TV show, or there would be something. But now it's just it's almost you can't buy a comic book now without the faces looking like the actors portraying them on a TV show or a movie.
To me, what's even weirder, when they have these promotions for the comic movies, or even sometimes the movies themselves, the superheroes can't wait to not be in a mask.
Yeah.
it's like, as soon as like Spider-Man comes down, takes off his mask. As soon as Iron Man lands, his mask goes up. It's like, Captain America, he wasn't even in his mask pretty much the past 2 movies or whatever. And you get all these characters and then they're on the posters. Got to put the face out. Got to show, hey, the actor's there. God bless someone like Hugo Weaving when he was in the V for Vendetta movie. That was just like, no, I'm in the mask the whole time. You're not gonna see my face. Even when you could have seen my face, there was that part where he's interrogating Evie, Natalie Portman, and he could have been there. He could have been spotlit, and he's like, "Nope, I'm in darkness." That's someone who's I'm going for it. This is the role. I'm playing the role to a T. It's not about me. It's about the character. And now it's like these celebrity type actors where no. It's always about me. It's the face. This is the moneymaker, and it's always about putting them before the character, before the story. It's a very strange thing. It's a narcissistic way that I think it's building itself, not just into the movies, because Hollywood's always been somewhat narcissistic. It's just kind of the nature of the industry. But now it's even becoming so much so of a narcissistic thing that's occurring within the elements of the comics. The self-inserts, the stuff that's like, it's just supposed to appeal to me. If it doesn't appeal to me, it's bad and it's wrong and it's this and it's that. If it doesn't appeal to my moral sensibilities, it's also bad and wrong and problematic. So you then have villains that aren't really villainous. You have heroes that are kind of emulating their writers way too much as opposed to staying true to who their personalities are and what they've been. It's this very wishy-washy thing, and then longtime readers are of course upset with that. Whereas if these people just did their own thing and made their own indie stuff, make whatever character you want to make. If you want to make every single character just like you, hey, go for it. You're not talking about an established history or whatever it is. So it's a very strange thing. But the thing is, they don't want to do that because there's work behind that. There's not that brand recognition. There's not, you got to pound the pavement. You got to be personable. You got to talk to the readers. You got to get feedback constantly. You got to suffer for a bit. You got to pay your dues when you go through indie. And they don't want to do that. That's tough.
Yeah.
Why can't I just kind of impress them on social media and say, hey, I might fill some check boxes for you. And unfortunately, that's a lot of this. And all they do, though, is they hurt themselves. They hurt themselves because you're not building up your own brand at that point. You're continuing to build up that corporate brand. You're not building up your own characters at that point. You're building up or even ruining their characters and absolutely putting yourself behind the 8 ball. Because now you're remembered as a person who ruined this character that people love. Instead of this person who created this brand new character and is building their own career step by step, you're now the person who you ruined, someone that you've known this character for 10, 20, 30, 50, 60 years. And now when you go off to do your own thing and you thought, oh, I did it the right way. I went through the corporate machine and now people know who I am and I'll do my own thing now. And now how many of them are out there? And this happens, and then they try to do their own book, and it's nothing close to what they experienced at the level of the big 2. And they don't have fans. They don't have readers. They don't have people that come in there and they want to buy like even 10,000, 20,000 copies of their book the way they were selling whatever they were selling at the big 2. They could barely sell 100 to 200 copies. It's all they're doing is hurting themselves, and they don't realize corporate doesn't care about you. They just want to use you, chew you up, and spit you out. And when readers were pointing that kind of stuff out, they were told they were bigoted. And if anything, at the end of the day, the readers were actually caring about the creators that were being used in such a fashion. And they were being told, no, they're wrong. They're bigoted. They're this and that. It's like you're putting them behind. You're using these people, and you're not giving them the tools to succeed. You're putting them in a position to fail. And then when they fail, they don't care because they get the next sucker that's coming along. And there's not just a sucker born every minute in comics. There's a sucker born every second for corporate comics. And they just go, oh, I could get in the door and my whole career will be set. And then I could get into movies, do this or do that. No. It's like a pop star process. You are what they want you to be. And if they don't want you to be the star and they don't want you to be the person who succeeds and takes it to the next level, you're not going to be. And that's it. They're going to put you out there. They're going to make a big splash for you. Why? So everybody can see what you're like, see you fail on a big platform. And then 2 or 3 years later, you're nothing and nobody. And you're complaining about what the hell happened. And you don't know what occurred. That's corporate comics, and they could care less. They're worse now than they ever were before.
And what's kind of scary too is some of these people that have been used, chewed up, spit out by the corporate machine. They don't look at the corporate machine that did that to them and yell at them. They yell at the fans who said, "Why didn't you? Why did you? Why did you? Put the Punisher in." Put him like a little teddy bear on his shirt, and this is I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna put my own spin on it and do my thing. And then when the machine spits you out and gets the next guy in to pay him pennies, and then they don't look at the machine that ate them and spit them out and say, "Son of a bitch, like you guys did this to me." No, they look at the fans that would saying. It's very strange. There's a lot of animosity, and I've experienced it.
Corporate won't stop them from having that attitude either, because they don't want them to realize, no, where you will succeed is by actually having positive and respectful interactions with the readers.
Yep.
And if anything, if readers come at you and they're disappointed in what you're doing, and you respond in a professional and polite way, and an enthusiastic, hey, I get it. You love this character, but please give us a shot. And if you don't like it, just come back and let us know. And, we understand. If creators interacted in that way, instead of interacting in this knee-jerk kind of, go automatically to be hateful and antagonistic and just aggressive and assertive and all this other weird stuff, instead of interacting with the readers as no, these are people that have emotional connections with these characters, respect and understand where they're coming from. They could then actually parlay into a successful indie career because they would actually have readers that respected them because they respected the readers. But instead, corporate's like, no, you know what? Shit all over them. That's cool. Because now when they leave, they're never going to be our competition. We don't got to worry about them. Next, who's next?
Yeah.
And they do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. Respect goes a long way. It goes a long way. If you're a creator and you treat people with respect, and even if the other guy says like, hey, you know what, your book sucks, the art sucks, the writing is terrible. Hey, sorry you didn't like it, but maybe we'll get you on the next one. It's other people will see that and be like, well, he didn't call him a pejorative, just like it's crazy that the lack of self-awareness and the lack of respect. You just throw a little bit of respect, or just kind of let it roll off you like water off a duck. Just okay, you didn't like it, that's fine. Not everybody's gonna like everything.
And the thing is, that's the other part too, is that the industry was actually doing really well as some of them want you to believe. They would let all of that slide right off. And also they'd be too busy to even see any of it. Right. So the fact that they'd see all of it and it gets to them, it's because it adds insult to injury. And they know exactly what's going on and they don't care, because the comic companies are not making their money from the comics. They're making their money from everything else. The just comics are all about stirring it up. And then, whatever happens, the movie comes out, this and that comes out, put them back, bring them back to the way they were. Who cares about the characters? Who cares about the creators? Who cares about who created them? Who cares about anything what it means to anybody? It's just this blatant facade used to sell something else. And so the sales numbers end up reflecting that. They reflect, well, who really cares at the end of the day? And they keep going down and down and down. And the industry keeps struggling more and more. And they keep asking, oh, why? Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Yeah, it's everything, guys. It's everything. It's not a maybe, it's everything. And they don't want to do one thing to correct. Pick at least one thing and try to fix it. Instead, though, like you said, it time and time again, who's the fault? Who's to blame? It's the fans. It's the readers. It's so freaking ridiculous. And I think a lot of people are really tired of it. And because of social media, a lot of these fans, they get together, they talk, and they're like, wait, you too? You too? Happening to you too? Over there, you too? Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It really is. to see, and I feel bad. I love comic books, and thank God for Alterna, because you're putting stuff out there, and all the creators are great, and there's a healthy atmosphere at Alterna, and it's not like that in other places, let's just say, and it's refreshing, and it's helpful, and it's what it should be. And unfortunately, I don't know how we got to where we got, but it's
I think
here we are.
We got to where we got. I honestly think because people stopped caring at a certain point. It stopped mattering to them about these things, these standards, this line in the sand that they should have said, no, we don't cross this line. We don't antagonize the readers. We don't disrespect them as well. We don't mistreat the creators who are doing this. We don't mistreat the characters, because by mistreating the characters, we're vicariously also mistreating the creators that put a little bit of their soul into these things, and the readers over the decades that have grown to love these characters. So it's all these little things where it's just nothing was sacred, nothing mattered. And then it turned into, oh, okay, well, if nothing matters to you, the readers go, well, then why should it matter to me? And then they go, I can go spend my money elsewhere. I can go spend my money on someone else who's telling a story that matters to them. And maybe, and this is now, it's the quality level is nosediving across the board so much at the big two, where there's just that top echelon that's still really good. And then the vast majority that's just like, some of this stuff looks like, what is this? Like, did you hire a 16-year-old off of the internet?
Yeah.
And you gave him a shot? But now that the indie work, you're talking about, the storytelling is getting better, the characters are getting more interesting, the creators are out there, they're using the internet, YouTube, Twitter, whatever it may be, to help level the playing field of promotion. So they're getting their stuff out there, they're getting more savvy about it, and they're trying their very best as they learn, and this is what I'm noticing anyway, to also do not what the mainstream companies are doing, and have respect for the readers, the respect that they feel that was lost for them as fans of those companies. So to see the fact that people are building, that there's so much positivity, as much as there's a decline, there's also that boost. And it's kind of creating the start, anyway, I think, of a new golden age of comics, because there's so many great people out there making awesome books. And the ones that are taking their time and they're building, it's their first one and this and that, as long as they got the right attitude, as long as they're willing to put in the time and the effort and work and get that feedback and use it to be a better artist, writer, whatever it may be, inker, letterer, whatever, they're going to have success. And 5 to 10 years from now, I think we're looking at a very, very different comic industry. We're looking at indies. I don't want to say necessarily dominating, because I don't even know if we're talking about the big two even still being around in a situation where domination is something to even talk about. I think we're talking about prevalence of indies. I think we're talking about the cream rising to the top.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. And that's, now we're talking. Yeah. Yeah. Cream.
But thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pete.
Ricky Steamboat, here's your cup of coffee. Yeah.
Cup of coffee in the big time.
Cup of coffee in the big time. You ain't got what it takes. No, I don't think so. No.
And I think we're going to see so many creators out there in that position. I think we're starting to see a lot of that now.
I hope you're right.
But
you're right.
And it's just, everybody's just got to keep staying the path, keep doing what you're doing, and keep building. Don't look back. Don't look side to side. Don't start comparing yourself to what's going on. Looking at someone else's success, wishing it was yours. Keep putting in that time. Build up what you can do. Be the best you can be. It's difficult sometimes. I absolutely get it. But the worst thing you could do as just a human being in general is to constantly tear yourself down because you're not someone else. That's a great thing that you're not someone else. You're uniquely you. There's only one of you. Do whatever it is you can do and kick ass at it. Be great at it. Try and strive to be your best. Because that other person who's having all that success, one day they won't have all that success. One day they won't be at the top. So it's always changing. And people have to realize that, and they have to not be so upset about where they are now and just think, you know what, as long as I keep building up, good, I can keep doing it, and I'll get somewhere eventually. And don't just measure your success either by always looking at someone else's success, because you'll never, it's such an unhealthy way to be.
Have you ever read Chuck Norris's autobiography from, I think it was 87? It was called My Secret to Inner Success. Have you ever, I highly recommend it. It's his autobiography. It's his life story, but throughout it, he gives these little nuggets of, motivation and perseverance, and, building confidence, and building not even just physical strength, but mental strength, and to overcome obstacles and be successful. If you haven't read it, and anybody in the chat, anybody watching, I highly recommend it. It's an older book. It's from 87. If you can find it, I highly recommend it. I just read that earlier this year, and it's a phenomenal book. So
Nice.
yeah,
sounds good. All right, man. Pete, thank you so much, brother.
Always good to talk to you.
Always good to talk to you.
All
Have
right,
a
brother.
great night, man.
You too.
Take it easy.
I'll see ya.
Boy, yeah, I think I've known Pete now for, I want to say, like maybe 5 years. Maybe. Always a pleasure talking to him. He's a relatively local guy. I'm in New Hampshire. If you couldn't hear the accent on Pete, of course, he's in New England too. I've seen him at a couple of shows. It's always a great time talking to him. Thank you so much, Pete. All right, up next we have Shane Illustrates, who looks like he's lurking in the dark. Shane, are you there? I can't hear you, Shane. Can anybody hear Shane in the chat? If you guys can hear Shane and I can't, I don't know. Maybe something's going on with my end. Otherwise, Shane, you might have to adjust your cam mic settings so it picks up your mic. The Statistical Zero says no. Metatron's Cube says no audio. JW Learning says can't hear him. Yeah, I can't hear him either. It would be a pity to... Shane's been there so patient. He's waiting. I don't want to skip over you. I'm going to give you 10 more seconds. Hopefully you can figure out the audio issue. I don't know if you've got a dedicated mic or it's a mic on your computer. All right, I think he's telling me to go. We can communicate through signs. You can write something on a sign and post it up. I'm so sorry, Shane. I'm going to leave you hanging out, though. If you fix the audio issue or whatever, we can get back to you. All right, let's go to our next... Oh, man, that stinks when that happens. Let's go to our next guest. That is Eagle Rider. What's up?
Hello. Well, that's exactly the way I wanted to drop in, poor guy. So I had to stop in and say hi when I have a chance and talk to you a bit. Besides, I've always got some project going on in my heads and my hands.
Sure, yeah. What's on your mind tonight?
Well, trying to work on the pinups and thinking a lot about the veteran stuff because of the day it was. But so, interesting week I'm going to be having. As Wednesday is my 15th anniversary with my husband.
No, happy anniversary.
So I'll be off doing a lot of my photography stuff, but I have a long route I'm doing every day for my photography right now, since I've got several different nests and animals and stuff that I'm watching at their different habitats. So a lot of daily drives and hikes and all that fun stuff as a crazy photographer.
How far away do you go for this stuff?
Well, when I start here, I live in the middle of the freaking city here, and so I go to the flower parks and stuff around the city and over to the cemetery where they have the swans and cygnets in the pond there. And then I go take the loop around the entire city perimeter because there's the osprey nest, the couple eagle nests, and a few others I watch on those. Then I have to go up about 20-ish miles up north where they have the habitat where they have the elk, which also has an eagle nest near it, and the killdeer are nesting there with their eggs right now. So it's multiple hikes in all these different places, and usually like 4 or 6 hours a day, and zigging to these different spots and then hiking to watch the progress on them. The crazy stuff you do as a nature photographer. The crazy stuff you do with this stuff. But there's nothing like watching the eaglets and seeing the parrots deliver the fish to them and stuff like that. And I think my favorite moment I've had with eaglets was literally watching the dad fly in this giant fish, set it down in the nest of the about 8, 9 week old fledgling, just picks up the whole fish and swallows it like a little kid with a hot dog. And the dad just looks down and kind of shakes his head a little and flies back to the water. Like, well, that's not going to feed them all. It's
nature.
Nature is more fun to be around than stuck in the city. But when I'm doing other stuff, this is my current thing I'm trying to work on, is doing the colors to that one that I sold when I was here before. So the original got shipped out, but I have my prints I'm working on colors on. And that one still amazes me that that's the one that I just consider that's the one I based on me.
Nice. So is there anything particular that you're promoting or talking about tonight? Anything you wanted to ask or say or anything?
Well, first of all, I always have to come in and say hi if I get a chance, which is always interesting. Internet working this last night. But the biggest thing I would say right now is that I'm always open right now to artists helping or donations for the pinups right now, because it's been very time and money consuming. So
you have a website specifically for that?
I haven't built a site. Right now I'm just doing the donations on PayPal because I suck with technology. My husband, bless his heart, by the time he gets done with work, doesn't want to go near a computer to save his life. So I still need to get somebody to help me with that. So the only thing I do have is, unfortunately, right now, the PayPal, which if I can raise a few hundred, I can just get some, build me a site.
All right. I mean, I wish I could direct people to a site or to something else where they can go and learn more about.
But so people kind of know what I'm working on. The most that they do, if they do the Twitter, I post a lot of the information on who I'm working with, progress shots on the artwork and stuff like that, and things there. So they have to sift through my blathering back and forth with people, but they at least get all that until I can build the site. Which,
where are you? I mean, how are you currently? There's got to be some information on this though somewhere. You got to have something up, even if it's, I mean, you don't necessarily have to have a site. You could have a crowdfunder, an Etsy store, something somewhere, some kind of landing page where there's information. Even if it was a separate Twitter too, and you could just update that specifically with the project
need
stuff.
to. It's been such a freaking crazy here. I just keep trying to go, well, I need to do this, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I need to do this, and I don't know what I'm doing. So I've got like these folders of all the artwork, and I'm doing all the colors on them. But my husband's looking up how to sell them and do the automatic donations, all that. But it's just
How are you currently handling everything?
Currently, it's just literally if somebody wants to help, they go through PayPal stuff. But it's also that's how I've been paying everybody. So it's mostly just messaging artists and getting them to get involved. They draw them, I pay them. And that's what I've done so far, is mostly just paying.
I mean, you don't have like a GoFundMe up or anything like that people can go to actually send the money through, instead of it having to be this time-consuming process where they have to reach out to you directly?
The closest I have right now is the old PayPal link, which if anybody sends it to that goes to the military work. And that's what I had in the private chat there. Unfortunately, I suck with technology, and I need to hire somebody to make me a page. But again, that's more money, and I've already paid several thousand on this project and different veteran work already. So,
all right. Well, I wish I could have somewhere to direct them to, though. I'm sorry.
No, I get that. That's what I said. I'm working on that, but just the Twitter's the best place for them to follow along and get updates when I have more stuff happening there. So right now, until I can get a site built, that's the big thing. And this been just a few months I've been working on it. The whole book is going to be like 100+ pages, and I'm doing the colors on all of them. So it's a massive, massive job. So anybody out there knows anything about technology, help me.
Yeah, there's lots of tutorials. Yeah, that's
tutorials
a good.
And stuff doesn't work the way my mental issues and autism work. I actually need somebody stepping me through it and helping me as I go, which is my limitation.
You could easily set up a separate Twitter or something. I mean, you need some kind of landing page where people can actually learn about this stuff, see it in a very, just go to one spot, see it in a very cohesive way, a very consistent setup. And you could just utilize some other platform that's already there, as opposed to building a whole website. And as far as selling or taking donations or anything like that, it's relatively simple to set up either a crowdfunder or a GoFundMe kind of thing. This way you can direct people to that too, and then just fill out whatever's over there. You don't necessarily need your own site with everything, all, the bells and whistles of that. Utilize what's already there. This way it would be easier on you. And then you can promote that link.
I'm happy to get any advice because, again, you guys know I'm very new to all this, and I know I've struggled with how to figure out how to make most of this stuff work. But yeah, I haven't been able to do much of anything the last couple of weeks because my second in charge over my channel that I help do all the stuff normally lost his father. And I've been actually backstage with him, helping him and his mom and everything through everything for the last couple of weeks. So I've got almost nothing done lately other than the drives, because they like those because I could show his mom nature. And that's why today I wanted to just remind people to think about veteran stuff, because the reason they're struggling so much and I'm so busy helping them is because his mom is disabled vet over in England. And that's why he's got all these situations now with losing his dad, is because she got injured in a parachuting accident back when she was in the military, and she's fully veteran. And she's a sweetheart. She really is.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, hopefully you can get something up at some point in time. This way we can direct people to it. Other than that, it's really tough. I know you said to follow you on Twitter, so Heroinberg here has.
Thank you for that. And
your info.
I will talk to my husband and see what I can do to get him to help me set stuff up. I should have separate stuff for this stuff, but
it's not that difficult to, don't build it up. It's not a big, scary, difficult thing. You could totally do it. If you're on Twitter with your own account, you could totally set up another account just for this.
I shouldn't set up anything on any accounts I run anything. I am so bad with technology. My husband sets all of it up. It just gives me about 4 buttons I can hit when I am doing stuff.
A lot of it is very, step by step, and just follow the instructions from there on out, and you should be fine. You could do it. I believe in you.
More than anything, I wanted to stop in and say hi and show you that I am working on some drawings. And
it's great to see.
Just kind of brag to everybody that I'm so proud of my husband and me making that long, because he has to put up with me, and as you can tell, I'm kind of ditzy.
Well, congratulations on your anniversary. You said 15 years, right, on Wednesday?
Yeah, and I had to cancel the big trip because of how much the military stuff's been costing and the cat's surgery and all that. But I managed to scrounge a bit together from a whole bunch of sales so that we can at least go a couple hours north here and spend a few days up along the Mississippi doing some photos with the animals and stuff up there. So
there you go. Well, it sounds like a great day is going to be had on Wednesday. You're actually doing it on Wednesday too?
We're going to actually have to leave on Thursday morning because Wednesday we're going to do half of the anniversary stuff, because Wednesday unfortunately ended up coinciding also with the funeral for his dad. So I'm going to be helping his mom do some of that morning. So.
Man, oh man. Yeah, it really is a crazy week for you. Well, Xgal says congrats. It says enjoy your trip with the hubby. And absolutely. Congrats again on your anniversary. And once you have a site or some kind of thing to direct people to, feel free to come back when I'm doing another one of these, or even just post it whenever you're around. You could post it in the chat and put that link up there.
like I said, I definitely need to do that. If nothing else, just to have a little page that's just Eagles in art or whatever to do the military and the Eagle book on all the time and stuff, where I can actually just use for the art alone would probably be helpful.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you stopping by to say hello. And have a great night. And again, happy anniversary to you guys.
You have a great night.
All right. You too. All right. Let's check with Shane again. Shane, do you have... Oh, I can hear you.
Oh, great. I'm working now.
All right. You're in darkness, though.
Yeah, it's like 4 a.m. where I live.
Holy smokes. Why aren't you just asleep?
I don't go to sleep at this time. I'm always drawing.
Wow.
I was just wondering, I know you said it's not open mic, but I was wondering if I could just share a kind of campaign that started today with the CG UK guys, because everybody sleeps. So I tried to ask them if it was okay, but I tried to promote for their sake anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Can you share your screen?
Yep, I'll just do that now.
You can share the screen and then pick a tab, and then that could pop up.
Yeah. Screen 1.
At 4 a.m. When do you sleep?
When I'm not drawing, I'd probably go to bed at 11.
Okay.
Nothing to do tomorrow, so no worries. Is it sharing now?
Yes, I see it. Very nice.
Yeah, so it's Twisted Fairy Tales. Just kind of the campaign started today. It's on Indiegogo, and it's basically just 14 different stories or parodies of fairy tales, and it's featuring mainly British artists and a few Irish artists as well. And will I just play the trailer here?
Sure. I don't know if you have the sound shared, but we'll see if you do.
I have no idea either.
I guess play it, and then if I hear it, no, I don't hear anything.
Oh crud. Okay, I'll just go with this instead. So it's basically just it's 14 stories and based around Princess and the Frog, Snow White,
various fairy tales and things like that.
Yep, and they basically have this kind of a darker twist to them, or kind of a kind of darker theme to the story, where they can be very comedic or very, I suppose, following in different genres. And it's basically not for kids kind of storytelling. So it plays onto page samples, so it's a whole variation of styles. So it's kind of like a European comic books kind of thing, and cartoonist kind of approach to it. And you have the Princess the Frog.
Are you working on anything on this?
Yep, I wouldn't be doing it unless I was working on it.
I don't know if you were just in such a friendly mood and supporting.
Oh, I'm always happy. I'm always friendly. I'm always open to chat. I don't care who it is.
Oh, okay, great.
It's all part of being Irish, I suppose. But
so what are you doing? This is it right here? You're illustrating this?
Yeah, this is a story I'm working on with Commie Mark.
Nice.
It's Goldilocks, and it's a big parody. So she kind of looks like Boris Johnson, where she's a bit fatter, and it's like Goldilocks and Three Bears. And since I'm educated and I have a degree in animation, I took a kind of very animated approach to it. And it goes to a whole different direction to what you expect from a typical Three Bear stories, the Goldilocks and Three Bears. And it has stories like the Little Mermaid.
Oh, so they're kind of like askew fairy tale satire type of stuff?
Exactly. And they delve into completely different styles, so there's something for everybody in a sense. And even the stories, it looks like something out of 2000 AD, where you can see the kind of European, British kind of influences.
Yeah.
Huh. And so I think it's one of the favorites, like Red Riding Hood, where it's completely different to what you see from the illustrated cover. and I think there's nearly 20 people working on all of this. So it's with the
Wow.
King's Night School. There's it looks very simplistic, but it has it's basically all into the humor and so on. The kind of pages kind of reflect that, where it's
How
the
big
humor.
is the book?
It's basically 80 pages, and there's 14 different stories. So mine would be like, some stories go from 3 pages, some go from 10, where my Goldilocks story is 10 pages long. And we have things like different tiers where, sorry, I'm all over the place. Digital is...
okay, I mean, 4 a.m. by you, goodness, I wouldn't even be intelligible on any level.
I am drawing all the time and never sleep, barely sleep. But digital version is £10, 12 euros. There's the floppy, which digital is 19. The hardback, we have a hardback cover, and it's kind of very traditional looking kind of style with the typography. So it still looks like a comic book, but it's kind of made to look like an old classic kind of those kind of books where you find just dusty libraries.
Yeah. Let's see. How much has been raised so far?
So far, we've only started today, and we've got 5 backers, and we've raised about 27%. I'm wondering so it's like 100. I think it's like just over 100 euros in terms of pounds, even though it's 116 euros.
What's the overall goal?
It's 581 euros.
Okay, that's very specific.
Yeah.
I wonder what that tabulates to, if it's an even number and something else.
Oh, sorry, it's basically something we created out for fun. It's from the CG UK bargain bin. The guys on YouTube like Jacobus, Area Black, and Bristolian Dave, if any of you ever heard of them.
Oh yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Charlie London is doing a story as well, and as I said earlier, Commie Mark. So there's a lot of familiar faces or names in it, and he's selling original art as well. Like, I'll be selling stuff for like 50 euros, original art pages for £50, and there's Lord Eric is for like, he never really told me his real name, but it's £215 for him.
He's Lord Eric.
Yeah, half the people I don't even know their real names or surnames at all, and we've been chatting for months.
Interesting. Well, pen names abound.
Yeah, and that's like we've extra tiers as well to go along with it.
Herrenberg is saying, get me to read that poem. What poem?
The poem here. Jesus. I've been doing online lectures for nearly 7 months, and I still can't get the hang of all this. Twisted Fairy Tales. Basically, it's the pitch. Like the YouTube show you have to watch. You love to watch, bring you in an anthology, truly top-notch, over 14 stories and over 80 pages. Rest assured, it's not for all ages. So sit back in your chair, drink up your ale, grab your copy in Twisted Fairy Tales. And it's just showcasing creators, but old and new. The bargain bin knew just what to do. Cool art, cool stories, all from cool scripts. To top it off, we added some sexy chicks.
Very nice.
Yeah, and I think I'll just end it here with there's like the extra posters. One of the art print posters that comes along with the Twisted Fairy Tales is one by myself here, featuring some of the characters. And there's like the Princess and the Frog, and Jack and Beanstalk, and a character created by Rob Price. He's a kind of German fairy tale character with a name I can't even pronounce, in a spooky forest, and a print from the Gingerbread Man story. And I know Lord Rourke is a comic artist from Austria.
Oh, okay.
Himself.
Wow. A lot of people across the world then working on this.
Oh yeah,
huh?
so there's definitely a lot of European influences going into this, and the bargain bin badges as well. So I suppose I just ended there. If anybody's interested in
are they
backing this,
making? Everybody making the rounds talking about this? It's fairly new, so I imagine.
Yeah, we just started today. So we had on the CG UK Bargain Bin show was earlier on today, about 8 o'clock UK time, and there was about a good number of people, and that's we first started and got a few backers into it.
Nice.
So it's only starting its campaign, and I'd say they're going to really push into promoting as much as possible. I just thought I'd take the second leg while everybody's asleep.
Well,
and
best of luck to you guys. It said Twisted Fairy Tales right now. It's on Indiegogo, just launched. Yeah. And there's a link if anybody wants to peruse.
Do I share the link in the chat, or?
Heroinberg has shared the link, but I don't know if I...
Very nice of you.
Let's see. If you go in the chat, and well, as soon as you actually get off, I think you're the last guest of the night. If you go into the chat, though, and get my attention, just tag me, and then I can make you a mod. This way, on future shows, you can also promote and post the link or any other link to something you want to promote. Because I don't think you're a mod yet.
No.
Yeah, anyone that comes on here that promotes a project or anything like that, I always make them a mod. This way they can promote their project or even someone else's project, too. Let's see. JW Learning says, I teach online art classes for beginners. Is this something you promote? Might be useful for upcoming artists looking to improve their work. Yeah, I mean, on Open Mic Monday, anybody can come on to promote anything. So if you want to promote that kind of a thing, absolutely. Same thing for Comic Book Radio, too, if you wanted to come on the show. We're going to be closing out soon, so tonight's not a good night for that. But on the next one, if you catch us, come on in here and promote that. I think that'd be great.
Okay. Thanks.
But, thank you so much, Shane. And I would say get to sleep, but you said you don't sleep till 11, so you have 7 more hours ahead of you.
Oh, no. I sometimes I go to sleep at 11 p.m. It's just
at 11 p.m. Oh, so, okay.
Tonight I was doing a lot of work, so I said, fuck it, I'll stay awake.
All right.
Tomorrow.
How many hours of sleep do you get in a day?
6 to 8.
Oh, okay. So you're just like a skew. It's just kind of,
I'm still a fitness freak. I just don't sleep that much.
Oh, I gotcha. Well, 6 to 8, that's pretty good still.
And I was just wondering, it was on a separate note, if you don't mind me asking. It was to do with Unqualified Comics, said earlier on, because I wanted to ask or bring this up when he was talking about storytelling in the indie comic books and the way people are approach storytelling as well. I always try to bring up or try to see people, do they know anything about Joseph Campbell hero journey or mythical journey, the way he goes from it's like a circular wheel that has a kind of a step-by-step and how to structure your story, go from act 1 to the 3. And I always thought that would be something. It's very useful. Like, it breaks up everything. It can be used for like script writing, screenwriting, comic books. It doesn't matter for stories in general.
That kind of thing definitely is very useful. I think a lot of what Unqualified was saying was the fact that a lot of these stories feel like they're taking too much time to get to where they gotta get to, and that it's very confusing because they're not setting it up so that you even know who the characters are or what the situation is or anything like that. It just, 20, 30 pages in, then you're getting into the actual story. And it's just, and I see that a lot too with the submissions that come through. I'll tell someone, look, I need the first 5 to 8 pages. If these are the first 5 to 8, it feels like this is page like 25. It feels like I'm in the middle of something here, and that I should already have been given a lot of information to get me caught up to what the situation is. And then sometimes there's other people that they'll start it off kind of the right way, but they're rushing the story, so things don't make sense. So the emotional impact of certain scenes don't make any sense because they're rushing to get to where they got to get to. It's a very delicate balance when you're trying to play with the push and pull of tension building in a story. And when you're trying to set everything up, it's very important to do so within the first couple of pages.
That was what I was saying with the kind of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, because it deals with different steps, and atonement is one of the steps, and that's the second last step before reconciliation, and before climax, and before the return, which is the end, where you return to where you started in a way. And I just thought bringing the hero's journey would be a good idea for people writing to actually consider, because it's all the information is online, so it's there everywhere. It's a good approach for, like, I wouldn't say I'm the best writer myself, but I try my best using those kind of structures, and it kind of helps a great deal.
Yeah, it's definitely about setting up that mystery along with giving enough information and making sure that you're always thinking, what kind of emotion and am I trying to elicit from the reader, the viewer, whatever, with this information that I'm giving them, with this panel, with this page. It's a panel is basically one snapshot in time. The page is an idea. So as long as you construct each thing as you're moving along with the comic, it'll help to steer you down the path of actually telling a story in a clear and succinct way. And also using those tools to your benefit in terms of also diverting the reader elsewhere and providing some, misdirection and surprise and other things like that. Leading the reader in one direction and staying true to it, but then something unexpected happens, and then that leads them in another direction. And it doesn't betray what came before. So it's a lot of different things in terms of telling the story in a way but I think sometimes a lot of I even hesitate to say new writers and new creators, because there's veteran creators that do this stuff too, where they try to get too clever for the audience. And they end up
expectations, and it's just not working when you advertise that, and it spoils the whole concept of the story.
Exactly. And instead of like doing this thing where you're following the logical path of the story that you've set up and the characters that you've set up, and then they feel the need to say, aha, but you thought that it was this way and it's not. And then every single thing betrays what came before, but not in a way that feels revelatory. It feels more like you're trying to play a game with the reader and fool them, and outsmart them, which is it's a weird thing to do, because even in the chair, there's a couple of different twists and turns in the book that I made, but at the same time, it's one of those things where you're putting clues throughout, and then when different reveals are set up, they're just that. They're more reveals than they are pulling the carpet out from underneath, and making the reader feel like an idiot and confusing the hell out of them and everything else. It's more about staying true to the characterization. So then if you need to betray the characterization that you set up, it's actually in a way that you go, wow, I just cared about this whole situation, but what's occurring right now is that, this character now has betrayed how I felt this whole time. And you're not sitting there thinking, why the hell did they write it like that? Why the hell did they feel the need to tell the story this way? It's something that as soon as you start being pulled out of it, and I said this before, as soon as you start going, well, why'd they write it like that? Now it all is lost, because you sit there and you're just picturing the person at home writing out the story or whatever it may be. And it's no longer about the characters and the journey that they're on and the story being told. You're just picturing the writer, the room they're in, what's going through their head. How did they make this story? Why did they make this story this way? Who told them to make this? Your suspension of disbelief is gone.
Writers treating comic books like a novel instead of actual visual storytelling. And that's what it seems to be these days.
Yeah, and it's such a weird thing to do, and I feel like there's way too many people trying to do this. I think because they're trying really hard to be original, but by doing that though, they're striving for originality that betrays everything else. So they keep on writing themselves into these corners, and then now they don't know how to get out of it. And then the endings are they're unsatisfying, they're anticlimactic, and everything they built up, whether it was good or bad previously, it just feels like a big waste of time. And that's the worst thing you can have a viewer or a reader feel when they're done with your story, is that they wasted their time. You know, leave them feeling something, anything other than that.
I suppose, yeah, it's like with the Twisted Fairy Tales, we kind of simplified the storytelling, but the main objective, I'd say, with everybody was to make you raise an eyebrow, make you chuckle and say, what the hell? That was the real approach to it. So it's all about having fun.
Yeah.
With our story.
And that's the core of it. Just have some fun. You know, a lot of people are not having fun with these things. They're playing tug of war, you know, and then they get it out there, and then the readers are like, yeah, this wasn't really that good. And then they get really pissed off about it, and then they get mad at the reader instead of going, hey, you know what? Let me listen to the reader and gauge how they're feeling. So I don't make these same kinds of mistakes, because the readers are aware you're a human being. You know, you're not going to write everything perfect. Every single great writer is going to have a bunch of flops. They're going to have a bunch of characters they make that no one likes. And they're going to have maybe some that stand the test of time and are iconic.
Trial and error, always part of it.
That's always been a part of it. So again, I don't understand this weird kind of mentality that's taken place where some of the creators feel like, you know, no, I am all knowing, you know, I'm playing God in this scenario. So everything went the way I wanted it to go. And for you to think or say that it's bad or wrong or whatever, or it should have been something else, you're not allowed to do that. You know, that's, you just don't get it. You don't get what I'm going for. Well, as soon as you start telling the audience constantly that they don't get what you're going for and they don't know anything and who cares what they think. So, okay, well, then you don't need an audience. Just make it for yourself.
Oh yeah, it's part of the process, but it's not the full process. So you need an audience. You have to treat it like a business while trying to find a way to have fun. It's
all about entertaining. It's all about entertaining people. You know, you're the first person, or whoever it is that's going to see the story. You're the first person that the story has to entertain. But again, as we know, everyone has different tastes. So maybe the story does entertain you, but on a mass level, maybe it doesn't entertain a lot of people. And maybe they let you know, or maybe it's like 5 people let you know that they really hate it, but everyone else is letting you know how much they love it. And all you want to do now is focus on the 5 people that hate it. And you're just like so immersed and pissed off that these people didn't like it. And you're ignoring the 10,000 other people that really love it.
Precisely.
It's such a strange thing. You know, so then the perception, though, is that because you're giving all the attention to the people who don't like the story, the perception is to so many more people that even more people than what's coming at you really don't like the story, because all you're focusing on is the negative. So you send out this weird kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, and you get more negative feedback on top of the negative feedback that you already can't deal with as it is. It's such a strange thing. A lot of these creatives, I think that they don't have the attitude for this kind of a thing. Just get the hell off of social media. Just do your thing and just let it be the way it was, and you'll get a letter every now and exactly, you know. And because if you can't let it roll off and engage with it in a way that's not breaking you or turning into this other thing, don't engage with it to begin with. You know, if you can engage with it and it doesn't bother you, and even if it looks like you're not having the healthiest reaction, but it's really not bothering you, and it's just kind of like this is a part of it. If someone's coming at you and they're giving you this ridiculous feedback or telling you suck or whatever it may be, and you have fun with it and you just go on with your day, fine. Yeah. But if someone comes at you and they're like, hey, I've liked this character for years, and why are you doing this with it now, and blah, 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 and then it just turns into this whole thing of blaming the reader for, and this is what's always so funny is
the heavy metal.
Yeah, you know, it's like, you're at the position that you're at because you created something people love and care about. And now when they're not happy with what's occurring and they let you know, your first response isn't, you know what, thank you for reading all these years. We really appreciate you. We know this character means a lot to you, but hey, please give us a shot. No, your first reaction is, you know what, we don't need fans like you. It's like you liked them before, you needed them before, but now you don't need them anymore. Okay, that's nice.
So if this happened to me, and I don't really consider myself CG, I just try to get along with them. Anybody that's in indie, regardless, or I don't care. It's just And this is it's kind of still where some creators will block me because I follow one person, even though I don't really follow under the same banner as them. And I've lost out on some past fun conversations I've had with creators before as well. Like even Dan Slott, I randomly message him or comment, and it's been pleasant. Down out of the blue, I'm blocked.
I've been blocked for like 5 years. I don't know what I did.
Oh, it's since since 2016 for myself.
Yeah, that's around the time. I guess I followed someone maybe at some point, or I don't know what the hell I even did, and then it turned into like, wow, I'm blocked and forever I shall be. Okay, well, I don't even know what you're doing anymore, and I kind of don't care. It's such a weird thing.
I know.
It's an unfortunate thing to see, and I don't know if it'll ever change. I think some people are the way they are. That's how it's always going to be. I think if this industry wants to start having a more success and a healthier mentality overall, people have to start adopting a healthier mentality. Stop it with this kind of nonsense that's become so prevalent across the board. People want to broad brush everything and everyone, and you create way more interesting stories when you have different perspectives too.
Yeah, I find
don't
that
be
fan
so
base
scared.
Fan base is being kind of like a cycle. Like everything might be hit the pan, or you might saying holy crap, but I see it'll be back to a new cycle and back to normal and back to the indie, as you say, indie comics will grow and expand to something even bigger. And they become even something close to the new mainstream, and then we have another decade or a few decades of a new kind of cycle.
Yeah, and
even
all
if
we
it's
can do
through
is
digital media and rather than the old kind of newsprint.
Yeah, and all we can do is hope that each time we don't repeat the same mistakes.
Yeah.
That's all we can do.
I'm not saying like newsprint that you're printing off your comics book will die out, because there's still people that will enjoy this. I'm just saying if for the cycle of new mediums expanding and growing.
Honestly, though, even with us,
does that make sense?
Lumber and wood and everything is the prices are starting to go through the roof. If it turns into the fact that newsprint becomes either far too expensive or too rare or not in the same kind of capacity to produce the way we are right now, and we have to do something else with a different paper stock, then we actually are getting squeezed out of being able to put newsprint comics out, or even, God forbid, paper comics in general. So we're still kind of beholden to a certain system. I'm not about to start saying, you know what, we're going to open up our new paper mill and get a printing press going. No way.
So it don't last long in some areas.
Yeah, so even that's a massive undertaking, and I don't have the time, the money, the inclination. So even then, we're still beholden to what's happening. But like you said, though, there's all kinds of different things going on. There's all kinds of stuff to actually even worry about in terms of this industry, like overall stuff that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the hell side of the fence you're on, it's going to affect everybody. And it feels like instead of some people really harping on, making sure you talk to the right people or put out the right story or work for the right company or whatever the hell, instead of harping on so much about this nonsense that at the end of the day doesn't really matter, they should really concern themselves with these bigger problems that are occurring that are going to affect everyone eventually. Not this pompous kind of posturing that doesn't matter at the end of the day to anyone, anywhere. So, and life is short. We don't know how long we have. We never know how long we have. What the hell's the point of any of this nonsense with, oh, well, I saw you talk to someone at some point about something.
Excuse me for going on tangents, because I went starting from the pitch and I just rambled.
No, it's fine. That's what this whole show is for. It's
a good way to close out.
It's a good way to close out the conversation too. It wraps it up the whole night in terms of having respect for the reader, respect for your fellow creators. Obviously, as long as respect is also being given too. You shouldn't be a doormat to anybody. But at the same time, if you're a creator and there's a reader coming at you and they hate what it is you're doing, there's a different relationship there. There's a different dynamic. The audience can boo, they can cheer, they can do whatever it is they want in terms of the reaction. as the person making the product. Think of it, you're up to bat. You think of it, you're in the major leagues in baseball or whatever other sport, and you're there. You're the one playing. You're on the field. You might even get, if you're performing poorly, you might even get your own fans booing you, and they boo you because they love you, and they know you're capable of better, and they want to see you do better, but they are expressing their frustration and their disappointment, and that's what this is like. So when fans come along and they boo you, and they're saying, "Hey, look, you're usually so great," or "I love this character, I love this story. What's going on? What is this nonsense?" Instead of going, "Hey, this person's coming at me. They hate me. I'm taking it personal." Realize that they didn't need to say a word. They could have just not cared ever and not bought it and just walk away. And you never know what the hell was going on. Instead, they're coming at you and they're saying something to you. You now have the opportunity to engage them in a positive way.
Yeah, in a sense, we're all guilty of doing that, regardless if we try or not.
Every single person, and every single person is. But at the end of the day, once it turns into the defamation and the smearing and the ridiculousness and the broad brushing, that's a whole other thing. Because I think a lot of us, we have the capacity to be like, you know what, maybe you were having a bad day. Hey, you're only human. Maybe I came at you a little too hard, whatever it may be. But once you start like saying things that could ruin people's lives and you're getting ridiculous with it, that's when it's just become enough is enough, I think, for so many people. And creators have to understand and stop doing stuff like that. And it's honestly, it's on their shoulders, because at the end of the day, the audience can say whatever they want to say. If you're going to be someone who's going to accept irrational praise, people who just love anything you do, then you have to also be aware there's going to be people out there that they can't stand anything you do. And if you meet them constantly with antagonization, with defamation, with all that stuff, while you meanwhile just accept all the love and praise from everybody else, no questions asked, it's a very strange thing. Keep your head on and just keep on doing your thing. Someone loves you, hey, thanks for reading. Someone hates you, hey, thanks for reading. And just keep going forward and make your thing and stop getting in everybody's face. And for the love of God, can creators please stop like sitting there telling other adults how to be, what to say, what to think, how to live their life. Like, you just do your thing, and if you want to lead by example, cool. If you don't, cool. But stop telling other people how to live their life.
Even in Ireland, we're not exempt from that kind of behavior. Like, it happened a few years ago with a certain person who had his own comic book on Indiegogo, got blacklisted from a convention by a local Irish comic book news and University convention. So this is back years ago, but it was kind of funny. He's kind of, I think, the highest earner in indie comic books in Ireland, yet no publicity from him at all. All because of CG. It's a funny old world.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Big Bang store that's out there, and how they completely
they're
blacklisted.
connected to the Big Bang store.
Yeah, they completely blacklisted and boycotted and spread awful crap about me and Alterna back in 2018. And it's like,
I try to get your stuff from there, but no.
No, yeah, and they were fine with us before. We were one of the most. I hate to use this word because now it becomes this weird word now, but we were one of the most diverse publishers around. And in terms of championing creative freedom, engagement with the readers, all that stuff, and championing comic shops too. Yeah. And it was like, for what? For what? I did that for 12 years. For what? Just to get kicked in the teeth at a moment's notice. I'd say maybe 20 of the shops actually would stick up for us and go, no, these are good guys. They're not like this.
The store in Belfast are still pretty happy with you, as far as I know. And I know there's one store, there's two in Dublin, because that's where all the big names, and I think they still like Alterna, like Dublin Comic and Collectibles. They're pretty good as well. They were one place to kind of just go to instead.
Yeah, and I wish international rates were cheaper, because then we could get our books over. But it's like, That's the same thing too. It's the same thing with like what I was talking about in terms of, this weird kind of defamation mindset, and it just makes things worse and worse. And the only way to respond back as someone who's going through it is to be like, all right, well, you know what, then F you too, and I got to live life because I'm not going to sit here constantly being on the defensive with you. And it just turns into fine, go your separate way. And that's the only way you're going to find peace. Otherwise, it's never going to be any peace because everyone's just going to keep on going back and forth.
Absolutely. Sure.
But anyway, man, thank you so much for being on here tonight. Keep drawing, get some sleep, do whatever you want to do, man. Just take care of yourself. Keep doing great stuff. And
I'm taking the Japanese mangaka model where they might sleep for 2 hours a day.
Gotcha.
And work. Get as much as they can done.
Well, as long as you're doing what works for you. Well, hey, you can cram a lot of life into a short amount of years, and all the better too. We want you around as long as possible. Come on, man.
No
Take care of yourself and keep on doing a good job and keep growing it. And thank you for the conversation tonight, man.
And sorry for the tension and going off in a ramble, and thanks for the time for a tale. All right. Good night. Good morning.
No problem
good night.
at all. Good morning and good night to you too. Take it easy, Shane. All right, we're out for tonight. That's going to be it. Nobody else join. Don't you dare join. Randy Scribner, what's up? Hope you're doing well. All right, everybody head on over to Michael Bancroft's channel if you haven't already. I know a bunch of you did. Good on you. I'm glad you guys did leave. Go support Don Chin. Good guy. Really, really good guy. Deserves all the love and support he can get. He's got his book closing out. And let Bancroft know that I'm coming for him. I'm coming. Yeah, I am. I'm going to get him. Oh, yeah. Him and his toilets to flush the wrong way. Yeah. Bancroft. Boy, oh, boy. You and your Bancroft bump. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That ain't what I heard. More like a Bancroft poke. Bancroft does a great job. Lots of love for Bancroft. He does such a good job, man. That guy, he goes all out for so many people, and he opens his platform to them. He opens streams. He opens campaigns. He closes campaigns with people, helps them out, gets the word out there. Good job, Michael. Appreciate you, even though I hate your guts. No, lots of love from Michael Bancroft. Everybody, take it easy. Go over to the Bancroft channel. Hopefully he's still on. I don't know. He should be. All right, guys. Take it easy. Have a good night. Lots of love to you guys, too. Much, much love to you guys.